In one galaxy-spanning continuous shot, we drift through the serenity of space, as if we have become a radio signal. We pass through the clusters of systems, planets, asteroids, and eventually, starships, heading toward a dot that gleams in the darkness. Music swells, and second by second, the dot enlarges into a majestic planet. We follow the Nubian transport, heading to Coruscant. The parts Qui-Gon had purchased from Watto had done the trick and they moved faster than the speed of light. From space, Coruscant sparkles like a star. It's like approaching a world of silver and light, and it is, in a way. Even from space, Coruscant looks different from other worlds. Most worlds show colors on their daylight side, the greens of the forest worlds, the blues of watery planets, the glittering white of ice worlds, and the sandy yellow of desert planets like Tatooine. On their night side, most planets are dark, with an occasional twinkle of light marking the largest cities. Coruscant's day side is a dull, metallic gray, the color of the millions of buildings and platforms that covered its entire surface. Its night side glows amber from the lights of those same buildings, like the stars of the galaxy in miniature. Only on Coruscant is night more attractive than day. As Anakin looks out the cockpit viewport in awe, he searches for a forest, sea, or desert. There is none. His attention is held captive by the complexity of the planet. Of all the places in the galaxy he wanted to visit, Coruscant was at the top of his list. From what he'd heard from spice pirates and deep space pilots, it sounded like the exact opposite of Tatooine. Tatooine is a forgotten wasteland on the outer rim. Coruscant is the center of the galaxy. Tatooine is a near-empty desert. Coruscant is covered by an unending multileveled city. It is the capital of the Galactic Republic, and the home of the Jedi.
Coruscant, capital of the Republic. An entire planet evolved into one city.
It's better than I'd imagined.
The main city of Coruscant long ago spread itself to take in the surrounding countryside. It grew with the wealth and power of the Republic until it covered the entire planet. Streams, rivers, and forests have all been covered over by layers of roads and buildings.
A nice planet to visit, but not a nice planet to live.
The Nubian ship flies through the vast cityscape. As far as Anakin's eyes can see, as far as a being can travel, the city's buildings jut from the planet's surface in needles of steel alloys and reflective glass. There is only the city, the center of the galaxy, the heart of the Republic. Everywhere there are vehicles of different types, some are size of a pod racer and the others are size of the Nubian transport. The Queen's transport slows, edging its way out of the traffic lane. Anakin peers down. Hundreds stories up, there is a landing platform that floats in the air near a cluster of massive buildings.
Look over there. Senator Palpatine is waiting for us with Master Dooku.
Qui-Gon shakes his head with a bitter smile.
I wonder when Master Dooku will stop viewing me as his apprentice.
You had a master?
Everyone needs guidance, even the greatest among us.
The sleek Nubian ship lands on the platform with a bump. Anakin and the Jedi head to the main corridor, where Padme is wearing full white makeup and dress.
My disguise must be maintained until we meet Chancellor Valorum.
Bail Organa nods, indicating that he will not reveal her identity to Dooku and Palpatine. Giving Padme a quick smile, Anakin follows close on the heels of the Jedi as he moves to the hatchway. The hatch opens, and the ramp lowers, and the Jedi Knights, Anakin, and Padme walk down into the sunlight. R2-D2 rolls down from behind.
Qui-Gon.
As Dooku puts his hand on Qui-Gon's shoulder like how Qui-Gon does to Anakin, Anakin looks around in amazement. The overwhelming sight of the city is closer than before, now surrounding Anakin.
Anakin.
He motions for him to follow, and only then Anakin realizes he is standing on the rampway. He quickens his pace to catch up with the Jedi and the princess. He realizes the group is already talking with the important-looking men who had come to greet them on the platform, flanked by the Senate guards.
Your Majesty, may I present the Master of our Order, Dooku?
The Master of the Jedi Order and the Council, whose name is Dooku, bows in response. Wearing a darker garment than the other Jedi, he is an old human male in his 70s with a long, chiseled face and stern expression. There is an intensity about the men as palpable as that which surrounded Qui-Gon. The high and proud cheekbones, the meticulous hairstyle, the wide eyes, and short white beard give him an appearance of a nobleman, befitting his former title of Count from Sereno. The other is the representative of Alderaan, Senator Sheev Palpatine, the white-haired old man with the kind face and loving eyes. In his blue senatorial robes, he looks to be a soothing presence.
With the communications breakdown, We've been very concerned.
It would seem that your arrival has whipped them into a murderous frenzy.
They intend to sweep the invasion under the rug. As you can see, they failed.
As Bail and Padme discuss, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan approach Dooku.
I must speak with the Jedi Council immediately, Master Dooku. The situation has become much more complicated.
Dooku nods as the Alderaanians have a separate conversation.
It is a great relief to see you alive and well.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Senator Palpatine, or should I call you Senator Bulldozer, as the press named you?
Palpatine laughs.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Yes, I'm Senator Bulldozer if that's how they wish to interpret my drive for getting things done.
The Senator Bulldozer title fits Sheev Palpatine's record the best. A self-made man, rising from humble beginnings to the intellectual godfather of the One Galaxy movement, which aims to prioritize galactic unity in the face of the threat of separatism. He has received a great deal of praise and criticism from the public, but received monumental political affirmation through coalition building. Palpatine is the machine of a man who manages to accomplish the work of 100 people alone. A human bulldozer who achieves his goals by any means and methods in the galactic politics. If he were a mayor, he would have chosen the color, size, and shape of the license plates the speeder buses should have by himself. That is the secret of his momentous drive.
Though many of your supporters view you to be a lot more considerate than that title implies.
Considerate to friends, bulldozer to enemies.
Let us save the small talk for later. We need to stop the separatists before this gets any worse.
I must relay to you how distressed everyone is over the current situation.
Apparently, not Chancellor Valorum. He's not even come out to greet us.
Dooku chimes in to alleviate some of her concerns.
The Jedi will escort you to his office, Your Highness.
Your Highness refers to a princess, not a queen. Padme gazes at Dooku with panic-stricken eyes, touching her white-painted face. They already know.
Your Highness. How did you know? Did something happen to Her Majesty?
Master Dooku and Palpatine glances at each other, hesitating to say it.
I'm sorry to say that the separatists announced they have captured Queen Brehar Antilles.
Padme freezes in motion upon hearing it. Qui-Gon shakes his head. Obi-Wan puts his hand on his face.
Of all times my hunch needed to be wrong.
Unlike other buildings in the vast sprawl of Coruscant, the Jedi Temple stands alone. A colossal pyramid with multiple spires rising skyward with its flat tops, it sits apart from everything at the end of a broad promenade linking it with bulkier, sharper-edged towers. We move toward the Jedi Council chambers, located at the peak of the Jedi Temple, just below its crowning spire in sunlight. The glass walls of the circular room look out over Coruscant in all directions, interrupted only by the great pillars that support the spire above. The Jedi High Council is in session, its door closed, its proceedings hidden from the eyes of all but the council members. 11 of them, some human, some non-human, comprise the council, a diverse and seasoned group that upholds the order. The room is circular and domed, supported by round pillars spaced between broad windows open to the city and the light. The seats of 12 form a circle, to emphasize the equality of the members, facing inward to where Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and R2-D2 stand. There are Dooku, Mace Windu, Yaddle, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plo Koon, even Peel, Oppo Rank Isis, CC Tyan, Adi Gallia, Yariel Poof, and Depa Balaba, sitting in a semicircle. Nevertheless, everyone knows that Master Yoda and Dooku are the first among them, but Yoda is absent, his seat is left empty. Qui-Gon has been reporting his situation. He has been there often over the years, to report on his various missions. This time, Qui-Gon's report to them is different. After describing everything that has happened on Alderaan and Tatooine in great detail, he finishes it by telling them his deduction.
My conclusion is that the one who attacked us was a Sith Lord.
There is an instant shock. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan could feel the council's reaction. The council members exchange glances and murmur disbelief.
Impossible. The ancient evil has been extinct for 7 centuries.
Master Mace Windu, a strong, dark-skinned human male with a shaved head and penetrating eyes, smooth-faced despite his age, leans forward.
I do not believe they could have returned without us knowing.
The dark side is hard to see. We must discover who this assassin is.
I sense he will reveal himself again.
This attack was with purpose. That is clear, and the Queen was the target.
This is difficult to accept. If the Sith have truly returned, then the severity of this conflict is worse than we could have imagined.
The head of the Jedi Order in the Council, Dooku, chimes in.
The balance in the Force is already long lost. The corruption is spreading like a plague.
The cloud of the dark side surrounds him and reaches us.
Do you have more proofs than anecdotes?
Here is the recording this droid took.
R2-D2 rolls forward and projects a blue holographic recording of his earlier confrontation with the Sith, playing out in front of the Council. There is no mistaking the ferocity and skill wielded by the mysterious attacker. Gasps go around the room as Qui-Gon is seen visibly driven back and even force pushed to his knees, barely dodging what would have been a decapitating slash from the Zabrak warrior.
He used the red saber and employed the combat style of Geo in its most vicious form.
Vicious indeed.
How could this happen without us foreseeing it?
If the Sith are truly within the separatist movement.
Ki-Adi-Mundi raises his bushy eyebrows almost to his skull ridge.
We must not hasten our judgment.
I concur. He looks more like a dark Jedi.
But there is no doubt of his strength and skill. He has mastered the Sith techniques.
Perhaps he is a rogue Jedi who had access to our Sith archives.
But the access is only allowed to us, the Council. As far as we are aware, no living Zabrak Jedi Master has seen them. Such information about the Sith isn't as rare as you think, I'm afraid. Likely, he's a lone wolf, hired by the Separatists. It is imperative that we unravel the possible Sith participation in the crisis. We have to employ every resource to this mystery.
A caution is wise, but not to the point of needless alarm. How many times have such rumors turned out to be false?
Only a few agree with Dooku, who takes this Dark Warrior seriously. Dooku looks frustrated.
We can't fail to recognize the significance of this.
Grand Master Yoda should be the one to judge. He's the only living Jedi who experienced the last Sith War.
And fought the last known Sith Lord and won.
Where is he?
Then Qui-Gon turns his gaze to the empty seat of Yoda.
Master Yoda left Coruscant for deep meditation. I will send him this hologram record as soon as possible.
May the Force be with you.
Around the Council circle, heads nod, plainly expecting Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan to leave. Obi-Wan heads to the door, but then turns to Qui-Gon, who stays where he is, continuing to face the Council. Qui-Gon remains standing before them. He holds his breath, knowing what is coming. After a long and grim silence, Dooku speaks.
Qui-Gon, do you have more to say?
With your permission, Master Dooku. We have encountered a vergence in the Force.
The Council stirs.
You say, a vergence.
Located around a person?
Qui-Gon turns and gestures his hand toward the door. The door then slides open, revealing Anakin standing at the entrance. He has been waiting.
Anakin.
Anakin lowers his head and walks into the room. Qui-Gon whispers to Anakin.
You must keep your silence.
Anakin steps into the mosaic circle and ringed by the silent assemblage of the Jedi Masters that fill the main hold, making himself exposed to the view of the Jedi Council, standing in the same place Qui-Gon Jinn had stood some seconds earlier. Although he is awestruck and uncertain of what is expected of him, he feels vulnerable and exposed.
Ah, he must be Anakin Skywalker from your tale.
A trained individual?
No, he's a 15-year-old slave. He received no Force training of any kind.
Yet he used the Force to win a pod race?
His potential is evident.
The Council gives an intrigued exclamation.
Have you tested his living Force?
The midi-chlorian test showed he has the highest concentration of the Force I have seen in a human.
Qui-Gon pauses.
Over 20,000.
Another collective shock hits the Council. The Council gasps and stirs. The eyes of the Jedi are distant as they view him, but he senses they are looking not past him, but inside.
No untrained human has been measured that high in my lifetime.
He is a generational occurrence. He has the way of the Force.
Another round of mummers fills the chamber, but Mace Windu raises his hand, and there is silence. Windu studies his fellow council members briefly as if he is collecting their votes without speaking. Mace Windu leans forward once more.
Master Jin, can he repeat the same feat here? Performing a Force power in front of this council?
Qui-Gon hesitates. He looks at Anakin. Anakin shakes his head. Qui-Gon is forced to admit.
No, Master Windu.
Masters all exchange quick, hard looks.
Bah, Master Jin tends to be too imaginative these days.
He often borders on zealotry.
Perhaps you're trying too hard to get a seat in this council.
Qui-Gon stiffens. This is why he hates making incomplete reports to the Jedi Council.
I'm afraid I've never asked for a seat. The life of an armchair theorist is unfit for me.
Masters, you all aware Master Qui-Gon is not someone who would do such a thing.
Correct. Words from a Jedi Master are not to be easily dismissed.
I request the boy be tested.
You request for him to be trained as a Jedi?
Finding him was an anomaly. I have no doubt of that. There is too much happening here.
Dooku holds up one hand, bringing the debate to a close.
Leave the boy here while you meet the Supreme Chancellor.
Unable to contain his excitement, Anakin whispers to Qui-Gon.
I will become a Jedi Knight.
It's only a first step, but a big one.
They then look up to the Council.
Persuade him to deploy the judicial forces to the Alderaan system.
Do you think Chancellor Valorum will finally take such action?
With the evidence we have provided, it's possible to convince him.
With that, Anakin remains to decide on his future, and Qui-Gon leaves to decide on Alderaan's future. Footnote. Redone adds some spices to the council scene to inject drama. I find the council scenes in the prequel trilogy boring, while I didn't have the same problem with the Clone Wars series. I realized why.
Track down this bounty hunter, you must, Obi-Wan.
Most importantly, find out who he's working for.
What about Senator Amidala? She will still need protecting. Handle that. Your Padawan will.
Anakin, escort the senator back to her home planet of Naboo. She'll be safer there. And don't use registered transport. Travel as refugees.
As the leader of the opposition, it will be very difficult to get Senator Amidala to leave the capital. Until caught, this killer is, our judgment she must respect.
Anakin, go to the Senate and ask Chancellor Palpatine to speak with her about this matter.
There is very little debate. They mostly serve as the information delivery scenes. The only council members who talk are Mace Windu and Yoda, and barely anyone else even joins the conversation, just nodding along. Let's take an example out of this scene from Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, which similarly discusses Anakin.
Our numbers were dwindling before, and now this.
Yes, we need more knights.
I know this will generate debate, but I suggest that in this time of war, we forego the trials and promote my Padawan Anakin to Jedi Knight.
This is preposterous. We can't set aside our most hallowed traditions.
In this time of need, why do we hold back the Chosen One?
Whether or not he is the Chosen One is still to be determined.
Palpatine has been requesting this for months now.
Politicians have no voice in Jedi matters.
Well, he is a cunning warrior, and our best pilot.
But he is reckless with his gifts.
See the difference? Compare that to The Phantom Menace, in which Qui-Gon claims that Anakin is the Chosen One, and everyone immediately believes it.
I've encountered divergence in the Force.
You refer to the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force. You believe it's this boy?
I don't presume to.
But you do. Revealed your opinion is.
I request the boy be tested, Master.
Oh. Trained as a Jedi, you request for him,
Finding him was the will of the Force. I have no doubt of that.
Bring him before us, then.
No one even questions Qui-Gon's claim. Even Qui-Gon's assertion about Maul generates little to no debate, as no one even ponders on the possibility that the Sith attacker might be a dark Jedi. By having Mace Windu casting doubt over Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's claim, it not only connects to his characterization in future films where Anakin is hostile to the Council but also injects conflict that gives some energy to the scene. The Council also debates more about the identity of Maul, not just relying on this testimony, but the actual footage of the fight. It makes it more natural for the Jedi to convince that the long-dead Sith have actually returned later in the story. You may notice Yoda is absent from the Council. I struggled with whether Redone should include Yoda or not since his appearance would ruin the twist in The Empire Strikes Back. Ultimately, I decided Yoda should appear since the prequel trilogy is about the old Jedi Order and it is impossible to tell the story of it without him. He will appear in Redone, but not in the way the film presented. His first appearance in the movie needed to be an impactful entrance instead of sitting in a chair with no proper character introduction. Redone hints at Yoda in a mysterious light rather than immediately introducing him in the first Jedi Council scene. Speaking of Yoda, I adjusted the timeline of the Sith Wars slightly. Now, the last Sith War occurred 700 years ago rather than 1,000 years ago to make Yoda a character who experienced it. I was inspired to make this change when I watched Chief talk Star Wars, Attack of the Clones, the worst prequel, in which he proposes how Yoda in the prequels could have been better.
But largely, everything was more or less calm and uneventful, and that's the time period that made up the bulk of Yoda's life. So now when I watch the movies, I don't look at this impossibly old man and think, wow, what a life he must have lived, what adventures he must have gone on, what must things have been like in his day, because now I know, it was basically the same as it is now. The state of the world hasn't really changed at all in his lifetime, save for a bit more corruption in the political arena. To me, that kind of diminishes what makes Yoda intriguing, but I also just think it discards what could otherwise have been a very interesting character conflict for him in these films. Imagine Heimerdinger from Arcane, but with Yoda instead. Imagine if this is set at a point where all the rest of the Jedi have been brought up in a world without the threat of the Sith looming over them. Jedi who understand theoretically how bad of a threat they are, but who've never truly understood it. Only Yoda understands because he's the one Jedi alive today who actually lived through that conflict.
Redone adds rich context behind Yoda by making him the veteran of the Sith Wars. Suddenly his dogmatism and authoritarian leanings in the prequels that the audience has complained about make a lot more sense, such as his extreme aversion to any potential seeds of the dark side, his militaristic attitude, his autocratic leadership of the Council, and his obsession of one harmonious Jedi Order with no dissident thought allowed. Because that was the only way to survive those dark times. As a response to the threat of the dark side, the Jedi became even more fundamentalist in response, which is a common historical trend for religion when facing an external threat, such as Neo-Confucianism in Korea after the Imjin War and the Qing invasion, Christianity during the Black Plague, and the rise of Salafi jihadism in reaction to Israel and the Soviet-Afghan War. I find it to be an interesting way to explore Yoda's character as already present in the prequels, as well as preserving the mystery of his character, which was his core appeal. Even though this is still a prequel, there's so much to Yoda's past that the audience has not seen. Redone removes the prophecy of the Chosen One, which is still hotly debated to this date. Some say the Chosen One prophecy was meant to be nonsense to highlight the Jedi Order's flaw, which is honestly my headcanon.
I even thought the prophecy being wrong was kind of the point back in the day while watching the prequel trilogy come out. Like, the Jedi, here the Jedi are, powerful, insightful, calm, collected, patient. Yeah, sure. That's how we originally saw them, but the prequel showed that this organization was severely flawed in almost every way. And I always kind of looked at the Chosen One prophecy as just another example of their faults, leaning on this ancient prophecy.
But Lucas did intend for Anakin to be the Chosen One and that the prophecy is true, although how it played out was different from what the Jedi Order expected. In fact, Lucas later intended to make Leia the Chosen One in his sequel plan. In the positive sense, it adds dramatic irony to Anakin's arc throughout the saga and subverts the Chosen One trope in media. On the other hand, I don't like it. Anakin being a space Jesus is something that the original trilogy never alluded to. All the original trilogy said was Anakin was the best star pilot in the galaxy, and a cunning warrior. Ben or Yoda never mentioned Anakin was a space Jesus, which would be something they should mention to Luke in Return of the Jedi when he wanted to turn Vader to the good side. Lucas made the Chosen One prophecy to make Anakin be arrogant and entitled, and motivate him to be power-hungry, but his actual turn in Revenge of the Sith has nothing to do with him being the expectations to be the legendary Chosen One. He turned to the dark side to save Padme. Lucas should have made Anakin change his side to save Padme and change the galaxy for peace and order because he buys into Palpatine's vision. Anakin was a slave, raised in the harsh reality of Tatooine. Being free of control is one of the important factors in his character arc, which is why he hated the Jedi Code. He wanted to be a Jedi to be free, but in some ways, he was still under the shackles. That being a motivating factor in his turn to the dark side would be enough. Nothing to do with him being arrogant because he believes he is entitled to be a space Jesus. Also, entitlement is the major theme that fits Kylo Ren better, born with a Skywalker bloodline to the legendary heroes of the rebellion, burdened to be a great Jedi, rather than a literal slave who was born with nothing. The Chosen One is a cheap way of explaining why Anakin is so powerful. He doesn't do anything exceptionally impressive than the other Jedi in the prequels anyway. Does he need to be a cosmic Jesus Buddha, which was the least interesting theme about the prequel trilogy? Unlike Dune, in which the entire story and characters hinge on the prophethood and prophecies surrounding Paul, the prequel trilogy does not change whether Anakin is a Force Messiah or not. The movies don't elaborate on what the prophecy even is. Who came up with the prophecy? Is it the will of the Force acting on its own through a virgin birth of Anakin to fulfill the prophecy? Are the midichlorians literally gods? Was the prophecy required for Anakin to do more bad than good? Because even if Anakin fulfills the prophecy by killing Palpatine, that's just him righting the wrongs he had caused in the first place. It also cheapens Vader's redemption because his change of heart is tied to the prophecy. Anakin's heroic sacrifice on the Death Star had nothing to do with killing Palpatine, destroying the Sith, or fulfilling some ancient prophecy. It was a deliberate human choice made by a father to give his life in order to save his son from certain death.
There is still good in him.
But why must you confront him?
Because there is good in him. I felt it. He won't turn me over to the Emperor. I can save him. I can turn him back to the good side.
Love helped him to be a good person again, which shows it's never too late. That is enough to make his turn to light beautiful. Sometimes a simple arc is more resonant. The notion that he was fated to do this not only does not add anything of substance to his arc, it undermines that sacrifice, as he never really had a choice then. Luke's story, a story about how he rose to greatness from nothing, became a Jedi Knight, saved his father from evil through following the ways of the light side, and restored hope to the galaxy, is now shackled with someone else's prophecy. There was no agency in both characters, always destined to do what they did, and this takes away the emotional weight from Anakin's choice to return to the light. After the prequels, when the fandom discusses Anakin's turn, everyone talks about the prophecy rather than Anakin's character. It complicates things in a way that makes the overarching story messy. It also limits the storytelling potential because the Chosen One prophecy needs to be violated if there's to be a sequel to Return of the Jedi, which is what Lucas planned on by resurrecting Maul and making Leia the Chosen One. Thematically, the prophecies rely on the Great Man theory and heap way too much importance onto Anakin's character and his family. It is an authoritarian concept, the idea that a preordained savior born with innate qualities will usher in a golden age, which goes against the concept of Star Wars. I believe the enduring appeal of Star Wars, the first movie, was that it was about some little guys and gals from small backgrounds collectively banding together to fight a large force of evil. The Force was the extension of that theme, where it was the magic that anyone could tap into. Some farmer boy on a backwater planet, small, can attune to it and connect with the universe, large. It's simple, but universal and timeless. Obviously, The Empire Strikes Back complicates things, but after the prequels, the Force is treated like God, with a will, ruling over everyone's destinies like a fatalistic mechanism.
Finding him was the will of the Force. I have no doubt of that.
We have this endless bickering about whether Anakin is the Chosen One, or Leia is, or Rey is. It is a bit sickening if you stay in the fandom and listen to all these theories and discussions. Redone has Anakin a powerful Force user without the Chosen One label attached to him. He is still significant and a crucial talent for the Order, so the Jedi would have a keen interest in raising him, but he won't be a Jedi Jesus born from virgin birth, nor does the Jedi Order have a prophecy about him. The most thematically rich part about the prequels is the sociopolitical angle, not the mythical aspect, which the prequel trilogy mostly abandons outside of the Chosen One thing anyway. Coruscant resembles a giant pincushion, with its enormous buildings sticking out in all directions like hundreds of needles. Over the centuries, the planet has become a single, giant, multi-level city. The air taxis that ferry citizens from skyscraper to skyscraper make it possible for some people to live their whole lives without ever actually setting foot on the ground. Like the buildings, the taxis are enormous, some of them are as large as cruisers and can hold hundreds of passengers. One of those vehicles is the air shuttle with Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Padme, Bail Organa, R2-D2, and Palpatine, flying to meet the Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic. Padme looks at the skyline. Night blankets the vast cityscape, cloaking the endless horizon of gleaming spires in deep velvet layers. Lights blaze from windows, bright pinpricks against the black. Among the cluster of huge buildings, the mountainous structure of 500 Republica stands, the tallest and the most exclusive residential tower on the planet. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan have not said for a while. Anakin remains in the Jedi Council chamber for examination. As far as Obi-Wan concerns, it is already hopeless.
You know it, Master. The boy is far too old.
I will do what I must. Would you have me be any other way?
The Council will not go along with you this time.
The passengers on the air shuttle look below upon hearing the chants.
Stand with the Separatists. Outer Rim Independence now. Hands off all.
At the ground, high tension rises as a line of Senate commandos stands guarding 500 Republica before non-human demonstrators. The protesters chant slogans against the Republic. The conflict on Alderaan has sparked a large debate over whether to intervene in the crisis or not. With the Separatists largely characterized by non-human rights and the Outer Rim liberation, a significant number of non-humans have been sympathizing with them, and the protests are held near the Chancellor's residence in support. The Senate commandos are breaking up the protests and removing demonstrators from the spot, pulling several citizens and holding them against the wall. Those found by the Senate commandos flee to various places. Swearing and screaming are rampant here and there, and the streets have turned into mayhem in an instant. People in the buildings are watching it from the windows and are astonished. The air shuttle passes by the riots below 500 Republica.
There have been violent activities across the Republic, even near this very building.
The Separatists have shown themselves not to be above violence.
They bear responsibility for this injustice and must be made to answer.
It is good to see Palpatine again and to confer with them. He's always been one of the Jedi Council's most trusted members in the Chancellor's office. When those on the others in the Senate doubted the Jedi's abilities, Palpatine always backed them. Together, they should be able to sway the Chancellor. Supreme Chancellor Finis Valorum's apartment suite is a series of senatorial apartments in the upper levels of 500 Republica. The room of the Chancellor's quarters, from floor to ceiling, is decorated with various shades of red and various unusual art objects. The doors to the Chancellor's office open, and Senator Palpatine leads the two Jedi, Padme, Bail, and R2-D2 to the room. Supreme Chancellor Finis Valorum, the current leader of the Republic Senate, is hunched on the couch. The Chancellor is a tall, thin, silver-haired man of indeterminate age, neither young nor old in appearance, with an air of nervous tension. According to the rumors, he is having affairs with one of his aides, but Qui-Gon isn't the man to care about such sensationalistic stories. In contrast, Sheev Palpatine is calm. With strong-minded eyes, even though he is older than the Chancellor, he looks youthful and energetic.
Your Highness, may I present Supreme Chancellor Finis Valorum?
Padme bows. Chancellor Valorum does not turn to greet the new guests. His dispassionate eyes fixate at the window, watching the protests below 500 Republica.
Welcome, Your Highness. I've called for a special session of the Senate to hear your position.
Palpatine whispers to Padme.
I apologize on his behalf. A myriad of scandals has been weighing on him.
Padme's expressions turn stern. The skyline darkens as the sun lowers, and the buildings look like dark shadows protruding skyward, creating a gorgeous scenery to the city. After being briefed on the situation, they are now cringing as R2-D2 projects the hologram of the hooded men assaulting Qui-Gon in the desert on the Chancellor's desk. Upon seeing the recording, Chancellor Valorum stays silent for a moment.
Is this confirmed?
The news is grim. Qui-Gon closes his eyes, seemingly very weary and very pained by it all.
We can say that the mysterious warrior is not a mere pretender. He's mastered the secret fighting techniques of the Sith Order.
He can sense the shock in the Chancellor and Palpatine as Qui-Gon speaks, for the threat to the Republic is plainly greater than anyone had thought. Valorum's face is etched in shock as the impact of the recording registers.
An invasion alone has been a headache, and now this.
Viceroy Gunray is an opportunist. He will do anything that he believes will benefit him and the commercial guilds financially. His loyalties end at his purse.
Which is why he courted the separatist movement, but not in a million years we would have suspected they would court the Sith.
The Sith had thrown in with the separatist movement that now threatens to tear the Republic apart.
Newt Gunray must be offering them favorable agreements.
I don't even know what to say about this.
The hologram flickers, then breaks apart. R2-D2 disables the projector. Qui-Gon can sense the Chancellor's fears. The cards are stacked in the Separatists' favor.
Supreme Chancellor, I am speaking not only on behalf of Alderaan, but on behalf of the citizenry of the Republic.
Palpatine takes a step toward him.
If the Sith are involved, the very core of the Republic is threatened. We should not forget the lessons of the Sith Wars.
Palpatine predicted an invasion like this would happen more than a decade ago. His long-standing paranoia about separatism has materialized on his homeworld. When it comes to the Separatists, he is always right.
Present your case to the Senate. The Senate could expel the Separatist members first. The next stage would be...
There is no time to wait. They will force the captured queen to annex Alderaan.
And that will be a rallying cry to unite the Separatists.
We can submit the matter to the courts. They can freeze their assets.
Palpatine interrupts, a hint of anger in his voice.
The courts take even longer to decide things than the Senate.
He shifts, an edge sharpening his words further.
We must act quickly, decisively, Chancellor.
The courts mean more delay. There's no time left. Alderaan is getting devastated as they sit here, waiting.
He is right. This is a matter of life and death for the Republic.
We can send another ambassador to Alderaan.
Another ambassador?
At this point, this is a tragic comedy, where no one laughs.
If you keep wishing to run on unifying the galaxy, this is not the time. Nobody wants to unify with the mass murderers.
The Separatists have seized possession of your planet. it will be impossible to immediately dislodge them.
You must consider the use of force. You can appoint a Governor General to take judicial action in times of crisis.
Padme is glad that Palpatine is with him today. He is the only man who gets things done, even if he has to face down every bureaucrat on Coruscant to do it.
We should have done that a month ago.
Our judicial forces are for diplomatic and peacekeeping missions, not for war. And we will have to convince the Senate to dispatch them.
Padme can't let this farce continue.
There's been enough debate. The disagreement within us is a dialogue. Their disagreement with us is a blaster.
There must be no delays. The Jedi Order will not watch the Sith running rampant.
I understand your concern, Your Highness, but it is against all rules of procedure. The law is in our favor.
The laws are for the Republic, not the Republic for the laws.
We cannot intercede until we have Senate approval.
Ridden with guilt, quietly, anger boils in Padme as they are locked in a fierce argument. Such a procedure only exists because the bureaucrats recognize it exists.
We can discuss the intricacies of law later. They do nothing to keep us from becoming what we have become.
I can't condone a course of action that will lead to war.
Since the Republic has never recognized the Separatist Alliance as a sovereign entity, she presumes calling this an act of war may be a stretch.
The Jedi don't believe in war, but sometimes there is no choice.
Unthinkable. There hasn't been a full-scale war for hundreds of years.
Padme hits the table with her palm. Valorum startles. She gives him a resolute look.
Our people are dying, more and more each day, until there is nothing left of our cities, our people, or our way of life.
Valorum lowers his head. He understands her. The rest turn to the Chancellor in the silence that follows, eyes locked. This is so pathetic, weak, and lacking in strength.
To be realistic, Your Highness, I think we're going to have to accept Separatist control for the time being.
Padme stares at him with a shocked expression. Padme dashes out of the Chancellor's office with her companions. It galls the fiery princess to think that she would be stuck here, when her queen is in obvious danger. Alderaan is being devastated as she walks here. Seething and enraged, she shouts as she walks in the hallway.
How could he speak of it so calmly? Perhaps he has stayed in that office too long. Perhaps he has forgotten too much about the ordinary people he represented.
I'm sure it will be the Chancellor's responsibility to handle them.
He is distracted. He will be of no help.
One thing has become clear. The rumors surrounding him appear to be true.
What rumors?
If I may say so, Your Highness, do you not find the Separatist action suspicious? About their willingness to invade Alderaan?
It's an odd play for the Separatists.
They could be suspended from participating on the political stage.
What if they couldn't? It's only rational if someone in the highest office is backing them.
It's a controversial idea, but such gossip has been circulating throughout the galaxy. Valorum's opposition, including Palpatine's One Galaxy movement, openly talks about how the elected leader of the Senate was not elected, but installed by the Separatists in service of the Separatist agenda.
Are you saying he is colluding with the Separatists?
I rather not indulge in this One Galaxy movement propaganda.
The recent scandal exposed that his campaign had ties with the Trade Federation. He is who the rumors said he is. A puppet.
Padme questions whether this can be called democracy when such lobbying is legal.
Even if people vote their representatives in, how can it be called democracy when money can override their decisions?
In a serious democracy, politicians coordinating with those lobbyists to undermine people's interests would be rounded up on treason charges.
There are too much more deceptions happening than we can even be capable of conceiving.
You're convincing yourself with cheap demagoguery. Chancellor Valorum has not been as effective as we would like, but he is still a strong ally for Alderaan. He sent the Jedi ambassadors.
When his hands were tied, only a few knew about our arrival.
If we were to die on Alderaan or Tatooine, our deaths could have been covered up.
It's only an imaginative hypothesis, one they would have immediately discarded a week ago, but it no longer feels so baseless now when they are at the receiving end.
Your Highness, what is happening because the Separatists who own the Chancellor want it to happen. He's not finding himself in top position of power in spite of his Separatist sympathies, he is there because of his Separatist sympathies. When you realize this, you won't make the mistake of accusing the Chancellor of being weak. He exists to fight you, not help you.
Padme ponders that the Chancellor and the Separatists are not opposed to each other, their opposition is Alderaan. He does not care if Alderaan lives or not. If anything, he actually hopes Alderaan is in ruins. Valorum would massacre Alderaan's worth of people every day as long as his masters let him sit in that chair.
If we can't trust the Chancellor, who can we trust?
You can present your request for relief to the Senate.
The Senate is full of greedy, squabbling delegates who are only looking out for themselves and their home systems. There is no interest in the common good, no civility, only politics. It's disgusting.
You can't be suggesting that every institution in the Republic is illegitimate.
Palpatine looks at Padme.
All I'm suggesting, Your Highness, is that there is little chance the Senate will act on the invasion.
The princess stares at Palpatine uncomprehendingly, eyes distant and lost. The Senate is mired in its own bureaucratic mud.
What options do we have then?
Palpatine thinks on the matter for a moment.
Our best choice would be to push for the election of a new Supreme Chancellor. You could call for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum.
Who will replace him?
Palpatine brushes back his thick hair, worrying his forehead with steepled fingers.
My One Galaxy movement has been garnering tremendous endorsement since the blockade. If I'm elected, Your Highness, I will put an immediate end to the occupation.
It is known that Palpatine is not free of ambition, but this suggestion astonishes everyone around him.
I wish I had your confidence in this proposal, Senator.
With enough sympathy votes, I am the favorite to win. I could command the judicial forces to liberate Alderaan.
What about Senate approval?
Our situation will generate strong support to bypass the Senate. People want a stronger Supreme Chancellor, one who could take control of the bureaucrats and give us justice.
A Chancellor who puts Supreme back to Chancellorship.
Palpatine's One Galaxy movement has been gaining gradual momentum for a decade, not only to counter the threat of separatism, but as an alternative solution to the problems that created separatism. In order to drive away galactic backwardness, the Republic requires a strong and centralized leadership to guide the citizenry into cohesive civilization and enlightenment. It is sought to eliminate regionalism to strengthen the galaxy's unity by breaking down the divisions between the sectors and territories and declare that all people are one citizenry. The Hutts would be driven away from the planets like Tatooine, replacing them with the proper authority of the Republic, and restoring law and order under its direct rule. It is the starting point and the end point of Palpatine's long career. The doctrine was received unfavorably by various quarters when it first surfaced, but the onset of the separatist crisis substantially increased its rapport with populations and authorities. With Palpatine in the chair, exercising this principle from the top, Alderaan would have justice at last, Padme thinks, but Bail is against it.
It's a dangerous plan. If someone conciliatory toward the separatists is elected, it could spell disaster.
I promise you there are many who will support me. It is our best chance. Our only chance.
Every day Padme delays, she takes bread out of the mouths of the starving children on Alderaan. She is thinking of her people. She still looks unsure as to what to do once she enters the Senate. Footnote. Palpatine's action in Redone is different from the one in the movie, where he wanted to approve the Trade Federation's control of the system and asked the Queen to accept it. In The Phantom Menace, Palpatine's motivation for telling Padme to accept the occupation was confusing if he were to portray himself as a strong leader to fight the separatists. His ultimate plan in the prequel trilogy was to start the Clone Wars by manipulating the separatists so he can gain influence in the Senate and become a dictator, portraying himself as a strong and capable leader in the crisis. The best I can guess is to highlight the inability of the Chancellor to stop legalization of the occupation. It technically makes sense, but this setup is not as dramatic as if he had done the opposite. Redone changes Palpatine into a populist hawk. Since Lucas was inspired by the Manchurian Candidate in creating the prequels, I also wanted to base Senator Palpatine on Senator Iselin, who was a satirical caricature of Joe McCarthy. In the Manchurian Candidate, Senator Iselin is a communist spy who disguises himself by creating an anti-communist public image, heading the populist conservative movement and spreading conspiracy theories about the fifth column in the government to sow disorder in the country. Palpatine in Redone does a similar thing through the manufactured crisis on Alderaan. We see Palpatine consistent with his ultimate plan throughout the trilogy. He orders Darth Maul to attack the Jedi to make the Jedi Order plead military action. He leads the proto-fascist One Galaxy movement and gains popularity for his hardline stance against separatism. Palpatine promises Padme to save Alderaan if he becomes the Chancellor. Redone focuses not only Palpatine's conspiracism but more on the populist appeal in his rise. Inside the room, Anakin faces the 11 members of the Jedi Council, standing alone in the same place he had stood with Qui-Gon. Exposed to all the gazes in the room, he is nervous and awestruck, uncertain about what he should say. They question him at great length, testing beliefs, knowledge, and insights. Dooku is holding up a small viewing screen that flashes images, but Anakin cannot tell what is on it. He has to guess with a gut instinct, the kind he always relies on, an intuition he feels for most of the journey, but it is stronger now.
A ship. A cup. A ship. A speeder.
After he names the images that whiz through his mind, Dooku lowers the viewing screen and looks up at Anakin. He got most of them right.
Well done. Now, close your eyes and be mindful of your feelings.
Anxious, Anakin does as he instructs. Dooku raises his hand, and the other Jedi Masters do the same, reaching out to Anakin. In the blank darkness in his mind, an image balloons up, an image from the deepest depths. Watto slaps Anakin across his face. Anakin flinches. He wonders if this is one of the Jedi tests Qui-Gon has talked about. This is nothing like what Anakin had expected.
What do you sense?
It hurt.
The probing continues. The Trandoshan, raising his axe weapon. He chops it into his. Anakin turns his head to the side, as if to avoid the hit. The Jedi Masters note this. Anakin relaxes his muscles, but not his mind. Jenna cuts short. Her engines explode in a ground-shaking roar. Metal fragments of pod and engines careen away from the rock in a fiery shower, leaving a long black scar along the ravaged surface. Anakin's expressions contort. Do they know of his existence as a slave? He wonders how do they know of his background on Tatooine, of Watto, of everything factual and past, of the order of his life. Or are they stimulating him to dig out those memories and reading his mind? Are they memories or illusions? Does that division matter in this test? Anakin is not sure.
What do you feel?
Anakin whispers.
Rage.
Dooku reaches out further. Shmi and Anakin share a final hug. He embraces her as tears form in his eyes. Regret. Anakin pulls out and backs away. He opens his eyes.
What is this? Why are you doing this to me?
Anakin snaps, and immediately, he realizes what he has done. It is too late. Dooku exchanges glances with several others on the council. Mace Windu thrusts his head forward, studying Anakin.
Special you may be, a Jedi must have the deepest commitment, the most serious mind. I sense much fear in you, young one.
Anakin panics. He is failing the test. To come this close to his dream, he can't fail. He fights back the impulse to argue. Anakin stands still, straightens up. He closes his eyes once again.
Master, I'm ready.
The faces of the Jedi are blank.
Then we will continue.
The hands raise, and the examination starts again. Located in the heart of Coruscant, the Senate building is one of many prominent sites. A large mushroom-shaped complex with its iconic domed shape 10 times bigger than the palace at Alderaan, the building's unique architecture and distance from taller buildings make it easily distinguished among the densely packed skylanes of the capital. The ground is crowded with humans and aliens from many worlds. The new session is being held. The Alderaanian delegates walk down a series of corridors with great urgency, escorted by the senatorial guards and the 2 Jedi. As the Queen's regent, she wears her most regal robes and most complicated headdress. Her face is powdered white, her lips deep crimson with the scar of remembrance. She wishes every senator to recognize the majesty of Alderaan. On their way to the Senate chamber, they do not seem to watch where they are going. There is an energy to everyone in the corridor, running and moving in all directions to prepare for the special session in the Senate that's about to begin in a minute.
Your Highness, you will be a villain to the powerful, but a hero to the majority of the Senate. We have a number on our side. Use this momentum to push for a change.
You truly believe Chancellor Valorum will not bring our motion to a vote?
He will let the Separatists move to defer the motion. I beg of you to force a new election of Supreme Chancellor.
Oh, please. A vote of no confidence would not be necessary.
If I become the Chancellor, I will do everything possible to crush the Separatists.
I assure you, Your Highness, the Senate will rise as a body and condemn the injustice of the invasion.
They head straight into the chamber. She is not nervous. She is ready. The interior of the building is no less vast and impressive than the exterior. The chamber has the look of a vast arena, circular and massive, with doors opening off exterior rampways at various levels above the main floor. All around the smooth interior walls of the arena, Senate boxes jutted from hangar bays off entry doors, some fixed in place while their senators confer with staff and visitors, others floating just off their moorings. The gigantic rotunda is encircled, row upon row, by the floating platforms of the many senators of the Republic, representing the great majority of the galaxy's inhabitable worlds. Banners and curtains of their homeworlds or organizations hang from the rounded ceiling in brilliant streamers, and indirect lighting glow from every corner, brightening the rotunda's cavernous interior. Holocams float in the air, capturing the session in the Senate for the HoloNet that broadcasts it to the entire galaxy. Chancellor Valorum, standing on the podium at the center of the chamber alongside Vice Chair Masa Meta and Senior Administrative Aide Sateria, nods in the direction of Palpatine.
The chair recognizes a senator from the sovereign system of Alderaan.
The Alderaan box detaches from its docking and floats a short distance toward the Supreme Chancellor's podium. Amidala and Bail Organa are seated in the platform, and Palpatine rises to his feet, facing forward. The other senators begin clapping to greet the Alderaanian senator in solidarity. Palpatine takes in the assemblage with a slow sweeping gaze that draws all eyes toward his. His voice booms, quieting the chamber.
Supreme Chancellor, delegates of the Senate. A tragedy has occurred in our homeworld of Alderaan. The oppressive blockade has evolved into a barbaric occupation of a peaceful world. In repudiation and violation of the laws of the Republic, the Separatists have attacked our Jedi ambassadors and invaded.
Immediately, many of the senators begin to jeer to heckle Palpatine, but they are soon countered by the cheers from the pro-Alderaan senators. A second box is rushing forward, occupied by the senator of Cato Neimoidia. He is the same species as the likes of Newt Gunray.
This is outrageous. I object to Senator Palpatine's ridiculous assertions and asks that he be silenced at once.
There is no invasion.
Where is the proof?
In the distance, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan watch the Senate degenerate into chaos from the balcony overlooking all of it. Even Obi-Wan is stunned by the nerve of those separatists.
Those pro-separatists wouldn't even let him finish his statement.
They have no shame.
As the Senate turns chaotic, Vice Chair Masa Meta screams. He is human in form, but with a head swollen by a pillow of cushioning tissue narrowing into a pair of tentacles that droop over either shoulder and feelers that jutted from above the forehead.
Order! Order!
The Neimoidian senator looks as if he might say something more, but then he lowers himself back into his seat as his platform retreats. Palpatine continues.
To state our allegations in full, I present our Queen's Regent, Princess Padme Amidala, to speak on our behalf.
He steps aside, and Amidala rises to a light scattering of applause. Moving to the front of the box, she faces Valorum.
Honorable representatives of the Republic, I come to you under the gravest of circumstances. The planet of Alderaan has been invaded and subjugated by the separatist droid armies. On behalf of my queen, whom they have captured, I plead for dispatching the judicial forces to.
The Neimoidian senator is on his feet once again.
I object. This is incredible. Your Honor, you cannot allow us to be condemned without granting our request for an impartial observation.
He scans the chamber for help, and there is a murmur of agreement from the pro-separatist delegates. Another separatist senator rises, this one bearing the marking of the Trade Federation and is occupied by the Federation's Neimoidian senator, Lot Dodd, and a handful of trade barons in attendance.
The senator from the Trade Federation concurs with this honorable delegate. A commission must be sent to Alderaan to ascertain the truth.
Alderaanians are starving, dying, and they want to appoint commissions. Yet there are more that side with the separatist trick. A third platform glides forward to join them. This one is the Mun representative of the intergalactic banking clan, an organization with financial ties to the Trade Federation.
A commission, once requested, must be appointed.
Bail Organa whispers to the princess.
It's amazing the way they circle the wagons.
If only we were as organized.
Valorum hesitates.
The point is...
Excuse me, Chancellor. Section 523A takes precedence here.
Valorum trails off uncertainly, leaving the sentence unfinished, and turns to confer with his vice-chancellor. Together with his aide, the chair engages in a hurried discussion. Palpatine whispers to Padme. His head bends close to her.
Enter the bureaucrats, the true rulers of the Republic, and on the payroll of the Trade Federation, I might add. This is where Chancellor Valorum's strength will disappear.
It is clear to me now that the Republic no longer functions.
From the balcony, the two Jedi stare off at the Chancellor. After consulting with his experts, Valorum moves back to the podium. He announces that the Trade Federation is right.
The point is conceded. Princess Amidala of Alderaan, we defer your motion to allow a commission to explore the validity of your accusations.
Accusations. It appears Valorum takes the steering wheel, but the Separatists decide the direction of the speeder. Padme's anger surges through her. They can't spend another month studying the situation while Alderaanians are dying.
I will not defer. I've come before you to resolve this attack on our sovereignty now. I refuse to watch my people suffer and die while you discuss this invasion in a committee.
She has no choice. There is nowhere else to go.
If this Chancellor is not capable of action, I suggest new leadership is needed. Alderaan moves for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum.
Valorum stares at Padme. She does not regret it now. The chamber is filled with rising voices from the senators and spectators, many in support, many in protest. The One Galaxy movement and its coalition alike come to their feet.
Vote now. Vote now. Vote now.
Mas Amedda moves in front of Valorum, taking charge of the podium.
Order.
A new box floats to the center of the chamber, and it is recognized Edsel Bargon, the senator from Runa.
Runa seconds the motion for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum.
The Republic Senate still erupts anew as the chants continue. Padme looks at Valorum. Lowering his head, the Chancellor sits speechless at the podium.
It appears I have started something.
A smile crosses Palpatine's face.
You see, Your Highness, the tide is with us. He will be removed from office.
Padme shares the same sense of triumph as Palpatine, but Bail is reserved. He's only pleased because they now have a chance to stop the invasion, he reassures himself.
I'll do my best to mobilize support for you to be the next Chancellor.
I give you my word. I will not let our tragedy be ignored.
Footnote. Here is a worse problem regarding how the film handles politics. The intriguing part of political intrigue comes from drama, executed in a way that arouses curiosity and interest in the audience. When you are writing a B or C plot, you need to think about how the outcomes of those subplots would affect the main plotline. The prequel trilogy is less interested in the drama and more interested in the raw bureaucracy of galactic politics. For example, in The Phantom Menace, the election of the Supreme Chancellor is not relevant to the crux of the story about Naboo. Yes, the discussion they have is about the blockade of Naboo, but the events that proceed afterward do not matter in the film. Palpatine wins the election, but it does not affect our character's journey. Padme returns to Naboo with her handful of personal guards and Jedi because even if Palpatine is elected Chancellor, she thinks it will be too late.
I will be Chancellor.
I fear by the time you have control of the bureaucrats, Senator, there'll be nothing left of our people, our way of life. This is your arena. I feel I must return to mine. Captain.
Your Highness.
Ready my ship.
Even if Palpatine had lost the election, or the film had cut the Senate scenes from the story, the main plot stays the same. All the following events would have played exactly the same, so the audience does not care. We spent 10 minutes of the senators talking about stuff, and it didn't even go anywhere in the actual plot. It only exists to set up the events in episodes 2 and 3 where Palpatine is the Chancellor. While Redone keeps the election subplot, we get the clear stakes in getting Valorum ousted. Rather than vaguely saying,
A stronger Supreme Chancellor, one who could control the bureaucrats and give us justice.
In which the Queen and the audience do not even know who that replacement could be, in Redone, Palpatine says he will get elected and immediately send the judicial fleet for Alderaan to combat the Separatists. By replacing the discussions with the deployment of the judicial forces to Alderaan, his action is more relevant to the plot at hand. The way Palpatine persuades Padme is also more direct and redone. In the movie, Palpatine says they should oust the Chancellor because he is a good man but weak, so he won't help Naboo. The audience gets the gist, but the stakes are convoluted and non-urgent. The obstacle our heroes face on Coruscant needs to be something more tangible, rather than the bureaucrats are incompetent. Redone makes things more direct by making the Chancellor the central obstacle in the Coruscant segment. Rather than Padme sitting on a sofa and hearing Palpatine say the Chancellor probably won't help her, which is vague, Padme should meet the Chancellor and have her plea outright rejected. Palpatine actively demonizes him as a puppet compromised by the Separatist money. This even creates a red herring effect to fool the audience into thinking that Valorum might be Sidious. With this change, the audience and Padme can get on board with actively supporting Palpatine, thus creating stronger emotional stakes. Focus on the characters actually doing things passionately. Night lay over the planet of Aldera, but the silence of Aldera exceeds even the normally experienced by those anticipating sleep. Plates of meals are on the floor, food spilled and thrown away, uneaten. The prison gate opens and Viceroy Nute Gunray moves into the camp to face the Queen, guarded by OOM-9 and other battle droids. Their feet step on the food on the floor. One of the Alderanian prisoners stands and blocks their way to the Queen. Nute points his finger at him and a blaster bolt from OOM-9's blaster flies into the daring prisoner's chest in seconds. Nute Gunray remains relaxed and comfortable as he takes note of the fear of prisoners. But the Queen is having none of it, however. Steadfast even now, she faces Gunray with anger and determination, her white-painted face levels, her eyes challenging. Nute Gunray glares at her.
When are you going to give up this pointless strike?
The Queen says flat, her words holding firm against the turmoil and agony that is racking her.
I will give up the protest, Viceroy Gunray, when Alderaan.
Nute Gunray kicks a serving tray across the ground.
Alderaan is lost. Your people are starving.
Breha Antilles stiffens.
Alderaan will not be intimated, not even at the cost of innocent lives.
Perhaps you should worry more about yourself, Your Majesty. The odds are good that you are going to die much sooner than your people.
Sio Bibble joins in.
This occupation will gain you nothing. The people have decided. They will not live in tyranny.
Enough of this.
He turns to the Queen.
I have done all I can for you. But if you are not going to cooperate, I'm forced to resort to a more extreme solution on you.
The Queen stares silently at Nute, unflinching, trembling with rage.
Am I to be executed?
There are individuals in our alliance who have a strong interest in your demise, Your Majesty. I'm sure they will push hard to have you included in the executions. I'm sorry, but without your cooperation, I must turn you over to them for justice.
Justice.
She echoes in an incredulous tone. And then there is silence. Nute waits patiently for a few moments, then turns and nods to OOM-9.
Maybe the time has come to show that the Separatists are a force to reckon with. Assemble the civilians in Alderaan. Queen Breha Antilles of Alderaan will need death.
Roger, roger.
Shock and terror ripple through the prisoners as the droids begin to tear the Queen from the prisoners, who try to hold her. The droid's speed and efficiency of action are chilling. A measure of calmness returns to Nute, watching the droids taking the Queen away from Camp 5. The more she thinks, the more certain she becomes that she is going to die. Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, and R2-D2 have returned to the Jedi Temple to listen to the Council's verdict. Anakin stands with his droid before the Council. Clustered together at the center, they await their decision on Anakin. Outside, the night has descended across the sky.
You were correct, Master Jinn.
The Force is strong in him.
Anakin's heart pounds as if it is in the pod race. Qui-Gon feels vindicated for freeing Anakin from Tatooine.
He's to be trained, then.
There is a silence as the council members look from one to the other.
No, he shan't be trained.
Anakin is crestfallen, tears begin to form in his eyes.
No?
Qui-Gon is stunned, and Obi-Wan gives him the I said so look.
Of the 11 members, 6 voted against it.
There's already too much resentment in him.
A close call, but it is decided. Qui-Gon cannot accept the decision.
He has a great potential. You must see to it.
Even if he's strong in the Force, our order is founded on strict adherence to procedures in the raising of younglings.
The rules are clear, and the reasons supporting them are proven and unassailable. Training for the Order after 12 years of life is doomed to fail.
Agreed. The boy is simply too old, and his slave upbringing is poisonous to his chances.
Anakin flinches. The measure of their newfound antagonism is palpable. Qui-Gon says with a touch of irritation.
I understand there are risks in accepting him. His fate is uncertain, but he isn't dangerous.
His thinking is too settled to be safely reshaped.
But there are exceptions to all things, even this.
It's no longer a rule if there are exceptions.
Despite Dooku's meek defense, the Council has made the decision. Qui-Gon takes a deep breath.
Very well. I will train him, then. I take Anakin as my Padawan learner.
Anakin notices Obi-Wan stiffen in shock. He sees, as well, the sudden flicker of hope that crosses his face.
You already have an apprentice, Master Jin. It's impossible to take on a second.
The Jedi Code forbids it.
Obi-Wan is ready for knighthood.
I am.
His protege agrees heatedly, trying to mask his surprise at his mentor's unexpected decision.
I am ready to face the trials.
Dooku's eyes shift.
What does he know of ready?
Obi-Wan is headstrong, and he has much to learn still about the living Force, but he is capable. There is little more he will learn from me.
Only this council keeps on who is ready, Qui-Gon. He has more to learn.
I brought Anakin here. He has nowhere else to go.
He is your ward, Qui-Gon. We do not dispute that.
He can stay here in your charge.
But do not train him.
Now is not the time for this. Events are moving too fast for distractions. The Senate ousted the Supreme Chancellor, and the Separatists have announced to execute the Queen of Alderaan.
They are lashing out after Princess Amidala exposed their invasion. They will be plotting her assassination on Coruscant.
Dooku holds up one hand, signaling the end of the session.
Qui-Gon, protect the Queen's regent.
Dooku's voice brooks no argument.
Understood, Master Dooku.
Dooku stands.
This meeting is adjourned. May the Force be with you.
The rest of the council members get up from their chairs and head to the exit. After deferential inclinations of their head in acceptance of their decision, only Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Anakin remain in the chamber. Despite himself, Qui-Gon moves to the window and stares out.
I had hoped we're smarter than this.
Apparently not.
R2-D2 comes up to Anakin and sympathy beeps. Anakin is caught in a mix of conflicting thoughts, and his shaky resolve collapses altogether. His worn face is solemn. After all the council members left, Anakin approaches Qui-Gon, who looks at the endless horizon of skyscrapers in silence.
Master Qui-Gon, I don't want to be a problem.
You won't be, Anakin. The decision was made without Grand Master Yoda. The council can revoke the decision and recount the votes later.
It is his way of coping to keep some hope. Later isn't a decision that might make him defy the council.
But the chances of the council reversing its decision are rare, aren't they?
Rare is not never.
Chances. Why is the council so afraid of taking a chance?
Qui-Gon looks tired, and the sadness on his face makes Anakin feel even worse than he already does.
The masters know that we can't tame passion. It can be mastered only from within. You are too old for this.
But a few things of worth can be accomplished in life without risk, right? Is it so wrong for the council to bend those rules when your conscience whispers to you that you must?
Qui-Gon puts his hand on his shoulder.
You already speak like a Jedi.
Not a time to meditate about that now. Obi-Wan heads to the door.
The princess must be waiting for us.
Can I go with you? I might not see Padme again, and I want her to know.
Anakin would be held in protective custody at the temple for a while, and Padme would be locked in security. A chance to say goodbye is now.
We're on a mission, Anakin.
I will give your message.
Although Qui-Gon gives his word, Anakin feels terrible. A dejected Anakin stands beside R2-D2 in the room as he watches the last pair of the Jedi leave. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan walk and talk as they turn down several halls in the temple.
I am grateful you think I am ready for the trials.
I did not lie when I told the Council you were ready. You are. I have taught you all I can. You will be a great Jedi, my young Padawan.
He means it. He really thinks he's ready. It's not just because of Anakin. Obi-Wan thinks for a moment about the potential difficulty of teaching Anakin outside the Jedi Order.
What about the rules for raising Anakin, Master?
Rules are not created solely to govern behavior. Rules are created to provide a roadmap to understanding the Force.
That's why you don't need a seat.
They turn to find Dooku, the leader of the council, approaching them.
You have been operating your own council above them. Bickering and politicking at the top of the ivory tower would have been no different from getting tied to an iron chair.
That's what makes Qui-Gon stand out from the masters in the council.
I take it your vote was a yes, Master?
Dooku shares his own doubts about the wisdom of the Jedi Council.
Dogmatism is preventing us from doing what's right, serving the system first before serving the Jedi's way. Never let that deter you from doing what you believe you must.
It becomes clear to Obi-Wan that Qui-Gon's unorthodox stance didn't come out of nowhere. It's Dooku's influence that taught him the mindset about the Force. The Force is a complex and difficult concept. The Force is rooted in the balance of all things, and every movement within its flow risks an upsetting of that balance. A Jedi sought to keep the balance in place, to move in concert with its pace. But the Force exists on more than one plane, and achieving mastery of its multiple passages is a lifetime's work. Or more. He knows Qui-Gon's own weakness. He is too close to the living Force when he should have been more attentive to the unifying Force. Qui-Gon finds himself reaching out to the creatures of the present, to those living in the here and now. He has less regard for the past or the future, for the creatures that had or would occupy those times and spaces. It is the living Force that binds Qui-Gon, that gives him heart, mind, and spirit. So it is he empathizes with Anakin in ways that other Jedi would discourage, finding in this boy a promise he could not ignore. Obi-Wan is grounded in the need to focus on the larger picture, on the unifying Force. He lacks his master's intuitive nature. He lacks his compassion for an interest in all living things. Obi-Wan sighs. This is not a criticism, only an observation. Who is to say that either of them is better for how they interpret the ways of the Force? But it places them at odds sometimes, and more often than not it is Obi-Wan's position the Council supports, not Qui-Gon's. It would be that way again, he knows. Many times.
I will know the truth about Anakin. I will discover the boy's place in the Force, both living and unifying.
What they have not discovered is that Anakin and R2-D2 are trailing them in the hallway in the distance, taking cover behind a pillar. Of course, he has no idea where anything is, so he is stalking them for direction. He is nervous. What if this is a restricted area? Anakin shakes off that thought. This is not Tatooine, and the Jedi wouldn't cut his head with a lightsaber because he is not supposed to be in this hall. Padme stands in her quarters, but she feels she is trapped here. She is staring at the dark night sky. The skyscrapers are gigantic monoliths, marking the Republic as the greatest civilization in the history. Padme wonders, however, how a civilization this great can be this weak. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan enter the room and approach her from behind, drawing her out of her private contemplation.
You have been placed under the protection of our graces, Your Highness.
With Queen Antilles captured, the next target is on Princess Amidala. That mere fact demands that we tighten security about her.
Please do not speak about me as though I am not here.
In matters of security, Your Highness, you are not here. We should discuss the procedures.
Procedures, again. She is shivering. It's not from cold, but dread.
Is that the bargain we make with life? Does every pleasure have a pain embedded in it, like a stone at the heart of a fruit?
Qui-Gon stands next to her to console her. Padme has felt safe, but she was foolish to feel safe.
The trick is to hold two contradictions at the same time. Pain and pleasure. Exhilaration and sadness. The fruit and the stone.
Padme sees her reflection in the glass. She gives a little sigh of frustration.
I don't like contradictions. I like things to be clear. There are forces out there I don't understand. I do know one thing, though. They want my people dead.
There is no safe place. Slaves can't rise against the masters, and a princess cannot hide from invaders. The door opens again, and Senator Palpatine and Prince Bail Organa stride into the room.
Your Highness, Senator Palpatine has been nominated to succeed Valorum as Supreme Chancellor.
I promise, Your Highness, if I am elected, our people will be freed from the tyranny of this unlawful invasion.
Only if. Who else has been nominated?
Bail Organa averts her gaze.
There are the other candidates like Ainli Team of Malastare. He is a separatist sympathizer.
Palpatine sits on the couch.
I will be the Chancellor, I promise you. As the leader of the One Galaxy movement, I will appoint one of my followers as the Governor General, whose first action will be sending the judicial fleet to Alderaan.
Even then, how long will that take? Waiting for the electoral process, appointing a Governor General, mobilizing the judicial fleet. We will never get there in time to save Her Majesty.
Your Highness, we will do our best, but we have no power in speeding them.
Padme looks back at the window. Change is the best thing for the Senate, but change might not be in time to save Queen Antilles.
I haven't worked for years to protect the Queen not to be with her when her fate is decided. We can't wait. We must stop the execution before it's too late.
I understand your concern, Your Highness. Unfortunately, there's no one else to help Alderaan.
Padme was preoccupied with only the Alderaanians, but Palpatine's words prompt her to realize something else. There are other people. She turns to him with renewed intensity.
What if there is? On Alderaan.
Palpatine looks taken aback. Brimming with both despair and hope, a small smile flits across Padme's painted lips.
With the Senate in transition, there is nothing more I can do here. Senator, this is your arena. I must return to mine.
Padme pulls out her comlink to notify pilot Rick Oli on her transport.
Pilot Oli, ready my ship. Set the course home.
Yes, sir.
Going back.
Her eyes are bright and energized. She wishes she can share her ignited sense of optimism with the others.
Prince Organa, stay on Coruscant to help him win. Our lives depend on his victory.
Palpatine springs to his feet as she heads to the door.
But Your Highness, what about your safety?
The Sith was going after my queen, not me. I do not believe in this idea of
hiding. No, but I do, Your Highness.
The doorway slides open, and Padme stands, turning back to Palpatine.
Senator, I pray you will bring sanity and compassion back to the Republic. Do not prove me wrong.
Padme moves out of the door in a smooth, gliding motion. Her bodyguards, the two similarly baffled Jedi, follow, glancing at Bail Organa and Palpatine in passing. The turbolift stops at the ground floor, and a composed Padme steps out first, followed by the nervous Jedi. The wind whips at them as they talk and walk toward the landing platform outside the building. Seeing them walking into the landing pad, Anakin and R2-D2 hide under the Nubian transport, taking cover behind the ship's ramp.
The Republic can't get there in time to save Her Majesty, but we can.
What can we do? Infiltrate Alderaan on our own?
Opposed to sitting here and hiding away?
That would be most prudent, yes. You have no army.
But you have an idea, I suppose.
Padme nods.
As you said, I'm having faith.
As they walk up to board the Nubian transport, the shadows beneath the ramp move, revealing Anakin and R2-D2, who have been overhearing them from under the ship. R2-D2 rolls up first, and Anakin jumps on the retracting ramp. Padme gets into the cockpit, followed by the two Jedi Knights. Rick Oli is already flicking the switches on the panel, shutting the entrance and preparing the engines for firing.
Once we stop the execution of Her Majesty, Palpatine will save us.
What if Palpatine loses the election, Your Highness? Have you thought of that?
You're not my babysitter. If you aren't coming, I'm going alone.
Qui-Gon stares at her for a few moments, and Padme holds his gaze, her head tilted, but hardly dimming the brightness of her determination.
The Jedi cannot fight a war for you. We can only protect you.
But you are the guardians of peace and justice. We are tired of run, hide, ignore. We have suffered enough.
Obi-Wan looks pleading to Qui-Gon.
You heard Master Dooku. He gave us strict orders to stay on Coruscant.
He gave you strict orders to stay only to protect me. And I'm going home, so if you plan to protect me, you'll have to come along.
Qui-Gon grins, realizing that Dooku's orders had demanded him to stick with her.
You're correct, technically.
Master!
It is a fine line we walk. And our return could put pressure on the Separatists and widen the confrontation. The Dark Warrior will be quick to act on the Jedi's arrival.
You wish to draw the Sith out of hiding.
We can discover the identity of this Dark Warrior, be Sith or otherwise.
The Council will be displeased.
Never let that deter you from doing what you believe you must.
Qui-Gon knows that they are acting outside the orders of the Council, whatever his justification. He knows that this is not what is expected of him as a Jedi Master, but when had that ever stopped him? Matching Padmé's determination, Oli goes to the controls, and a few moments later, the starship roars up.
Pilot, we will remain on Coruscant.
Sorry, sir. This is not your ship.
After a few more switches, the Nubian starship roars to life and lifts off, flying beyond the traffics, relying on nothing but hope. Once off-world, the ship then jumps to light speed. Footnote. I have considered dropping the Coruscant trip out of the plot for a long time. As soon as the characters travel to Coruscant in the middle of the movie to discuss the politics, the already struggling momentum of the exciting Jedi adventure the film has been building toward halts to a complete stop. The thing is, the concepts present in the Coruscant segment are actually crucial, such as the inability of the Senate to provide help to Naboo and Anakin failing the test, but they suffer from the standard, dull delivery of the subjects. The problem comes down to our heroes waiting for something to happen. Padmé waits for the Senate's decision. Anakin and Qui-Gon wait for the Council's decision. Padmé then waits for Palpatine's election. This approach might work for a book where the things happen gradually over a long stretch of time as the characters and events get fleshed out in detail through many pages. A feature-length blockbuster with a limited runtime does not have that luxury, and as a result, The Phantom Menace has neither nuance nor visceral. The scenes that conceptually have a conflict don't have tension and struggle. A storyteller's approach when taking something from a paper and translating it into the medium can make or break the movie. Lucas' directing and writing are exactly what holds it back. In the most recent rendition of Redone, rather than cutting the Coruscant segment, I have decided to shorten it by throwing out the other static scenes, such as Anakin saying a goodbye to Padmé in her quarters and Qui-Gon explaining what the midichlorian is. The scenes like Palpatine privately conversing with Padmé about the Senate's decline, the balcony wait scene, and Padmé getting an idea about the Gungan army have been merged into the different scenes. Shortcuts like this allow the film to skip bloats while keeping the momentum of the constant adventure in which our characters are in peril. The expositional scenes have been made to be more direct and visual, such as adding the hologram recording, the separatist riots on Coruscant to showcase the decline of the Republic, the characters arguing and reacting viscerally, the Aaron Sorkin-style walk and talk technique, Anakin stalking the Jedi, and the Jedi testing Anakin by mind-probing him, inspired by the box scene from Dune. Adding more arguments and conflicts between the characters injects the needed energy into the segment. By removing the moments of the characters waiting and not pushing the plot forward, Redone's characters are always moving around to do something forcefully, such as rather than Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan waiting on the balcony for the Council's test, they leave Anakin off and head away to convince the Chancellor, and rather than Qui-Gon somehow bringing Anakin to Naboo, Anakin sneaks on board the ship on his own. The problem with the nightmare is that it isn't one, not really. It is born of the future, and while Anakin's conscious mind can barely decipher what it might be, it still forecasts deep in his subconscious, eager to come out at night. The subconscious makes it vivid, confuses fact with fiction, takes old fears, and makes them fresh again. This time, Anakin is standing in the circular chamber of the Jedi Council, where Anakin stands alone to be tested again. The Jedi Masters extend his hand, stimulating Anakin to slide deeper into the dream within the dream. As Dooku reaches out, Anakin can see more than bits and pieces. Still fighting. Slightly clearer. We can see one is the man, holding the green, and the other is holding the red. The red lightsaber penetrates the stomach of the man. the man collapses, revealing his lifeless face to be Qui-Gon Jinn. Anakin opens his eyes with sweat on his face and breathes rapidly, waving his hands around. And he finds himself falling out of the open closet and collapsing alongside R2-D2 on the floor. Tangled in a mountain of clothes, Anakin looks up to find Qui-Gon, who has put his hand on his lightsaber and opened the closet door. Right behind him are Obi-Wan and Padme, all with shocked faces and raised weapons. Anakin's sleep talk was loud enough to wake them up.
Anakin, what are you doing here?
Pulling away the Queen's dress from his neck, Anakin gets up and shrugs.
The Council didn't allow me to be trained, so I want to learn by watching you instead.
You sneaked on board.
This is going to be dangerous, Anakin.
Is it? I can help. Where are we going?
Anakin tries to hide his excitement unsuccessfully as he puts his droid back to stand up.
To war, I'm afraid. We are going to fight to regain Alderaan's freedom.
I want to help.
Padme gives him a smile, awkward but appreciating Anakin's bravery. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan glance at each other.
All right. Take a sleep in the blanket. Sleeping in the closet will ruin your back.
Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan head off to the cockpit to notify the pilot, whispering to agree that he can't come with them. Padme helps Anakin to put the clothes back to the closet. She is now wearing the Lake Country nightgown and robe, giving her a unique aura from when she wore the royal dress. She has not even seen him for a while and thought she was departing without giving him a goodbye.
It's good to see you again. I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to talk with you on Coruscant, but I've been very busy.
He recounts his story to her.
They're not going to let me be a Jedi. I'm too old.
They can change their minds, Annie. Don't give up hope.
I wasn't going to.
She seems frightened to tell her story.
I have something to tell you. We are a peaceful people. I hate fighting, but I hate being in exile more.
Will there be a battle?
I'm afraid so.
Will you be involved?
Padme nods. How awful that she fights, just to find peace. The Republic is not going to help her to put a break on the killing of the Queen. The people on Alderaan must take action once the dominoes start to fall, but the problem is that those dominoes have been happening slowly over the years and they are all desensitized to it, but she can be the signal. A stunned Newt Gunray repeats what he heard to the hologram of Darth Sidious.
The Jedi are on their way to us.
With Princess Amidala. When they arrive, destroy them.
Yes, my lord.
The hologram of Maul walks to Sidious' side. There are only two of them. One of the last generation of the Sith was the smartest of all. It was he who devised the brilliant strategy that has kept them secret for many generations and allowed them to grow in the shadow of the dark side. The genius of the strategy was its simplicity. Only two Sith are allowed to exist at one time, master and apprentice. It is because of their strength that they can do this. They don't need a temple full of brats to nurse and train. They don't need a council full of whining debaters. They don't need a corps of knights to poke their noses into business that doesn't concern them just to inflate their own egos. Two Sith are enough, because they are Sith Lords. Their power is immeasurable, their range limitless.
I am sending my apprentice, Darth Maul, to join you.
Sidious wonders if the Gungans are being manipulated by the Jedi. Perhaps they have some plan in mind. He doesn't think the Gungans would be kind enough to do the war for the Alderaanians alone. They must be involved.
Sith Lord, here with us.
Do you wish to face the Jedi yourself?
Newt catches a glimpse of bright yellow eyes, and a face tattooed all over in red and black. And are those horns, poking up under his hood? Newt shivers. He doesn't want to know.
Of course not. But
the Sith Lord will take care of the Jedi.
Darth Maul stirs, ignoring the dark look Newt Gunray gives him. Maul cannot calm his eager, racing mind. Maul sees Newt Gunray swallow hard. He inclines his head and averts his eyes from the frightening presence. Lesser beings can consolidate one's power for him, and sometimes, they can amuse one. Newt looks at Maul's warrior markings and his horns and try not to back away from the image. He gives them his fiercest look. A savage appearance can strike fear in the hearts of the weak. He doesn't have to say a word.
I feel there is more to this than what we know, my master.
The two Jedi may be using the Queen for their own purposes.
The Jedi cannot become involved. They can only protect the Queen. Even Qui-Gon Jinn cannot break that covenant. This will work to our advantage.
Even in small conflicts, Maul sees he has much to learn from his master. He uses his anger like an electrojabber to frighten and motivate. He must learn to use his anger as elegantly as he uses his lightsaber. Finesse can never be overvalued. Padme awakens from sleep. She yawns, looks around, and notices Anakin is not around. She then hears two people talking to each other from the cockpit. The boy stands at the pilot's console next to pilot Rick Oley. Rick is bent forward over the controls, pointing each one out in turn and explaining its function. R2-D2 is already bustling about. The little droid beeps at Anakin. After shivering under the thin blanket for an hour without falling asleep, Anakin gave up sleeping. This is by far the most advanced cockpit he'd ever seen. He wasn't sure how the pilot, Rick Oley, would feel about him hanging around, but he didn't mind at all. In fact, he went over all the controls with Anakin. Anakin has spent his time in the cockpit with Rick Oley, asking questions about the controls, though there isn't much piloting to do while the ship is in hyperspace. The strange thing is that while the Nubian ship has many more controls than any ship he'd seen in Watto's junkyard, the basics are the same. He could identify the thrusters, stabilizers, and repulsors. Anakin is absorbing the information with astonishing quickness, brow furrowed, eyes intense, concentration total. He doesn't think Rick Oley would have been so impressed with his knowledge if he'd known how many junked cockpits he'd sat in.
And that one?
The hyperdrive control.
Anakin indicates a bank of levers by the pilot's right hand.
And those control the pitch?
Rick's weathered face breaks into a grin.
You catch on pretty quick, huh?
A slim figure enters the room, and Anakin watches the light of a view screen illuminate Padme's soft face.
As quick as anyone I had ever encountered.
Anakin turns and finds Padme has awakened, smiling there.
Well, I said I learned how to fly before. It's not so different from the pod racer, actually.
If you can't be a Jedi, maybe you can be my pilot.
Anakin can't hide his shivering, and he feels lonely, too. He'd left his home with strangers to go to a place on the other side of the galaxy. He knows Qui-Gon wants to take care of him, but after his battle with the Dark Warrior, he has his own problems. It is still hard to believe that there are warriors in the galaxy who might be equal to, or even greater than, a Jedi Knight. But now he knows there are. And if something happened to Qui-Gon, who would take care of him? If they reject, who would train him in the ways of the Jedi? Who would believe that he even has what it takes to become a Jedi?
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Are you all right?
Anakin tries to control his shivering.
It's very cold.
Padme hands him the flight jacket hanging on the wall.
You're from a warm planet, Annie. Too warm for my taste. But space is cold.
But she knows it is more than cold. Anakin nods, pulling the jacket tighter. He brushes at his eyes. Her beautiful face seems tired and careworn.
You seem worse than me.
Anakin knows something is wrong in her heart, too. He always seems to know things. Padme's voice is distant, her eyes sliding away from his to fix on something else. She is afraid that the mission would be a failure, that the Separatists would capture her, that she would be too late to stop the execution, that she'd never live to see her family and friends, that Alderaan would be demolished. But fear is a useless emotion. She needs to fight, and the only way she knows how to burn through her fear is to summon her anger.
We've already wasted too much time. It could already be too late to save the Queen. I'm not sure what will happen.
She can't stand being on this ship for one more second. The faces she saw from Alderaan cried out to her, urging her to hurry. Anakin gives her a knowing look.
I'm not sure what's going to happen to me, either. Master Qui-Gon did say the Council's decision might not be final, but if it is...
He stops, his throat tightening, the words fading away into silence. He has to be trained as a Jedi. He has to, or else, he might have to go back to Tatooine. In the small corner of his heart, he wishes he fails to meet his mother again.
Well, my problem is minuscule compared to yours.
Encouraged by him, she manages to talk about herself.
Years ago, when I was being bullied, I believed the words of my teacher, losing is winning, the one who keeps their patience wins. He said it's a virtue to solve it through the law, through dialogue. Yet they ignore the dialogue and do everything through the law.
It feels good to hear about dialogue and patience, but it only works for people who feel good about hearing it. It doesn't work for beasts. They package it as a virtue to make you do whatever you are told.
She pauses, eyes locked on Anakin. Padme has been taught that rules allow social norms and agreements to roll out, but what if they are flawed to begin with? People made laws, laws didn't make people. Now, laws are trampling Alderaanians. Not following those rules would create chaos, they said, but wouldn't such chaos created by destroying unjust rules make society better?
It seems you didn't need a teacher to learn a better lesson.
Bad people expect good people to be good. Never forget that.
Be patient, losing is winning, wealth does not guarantee happiness. These are slogans for domination. Just by living on Tatooine, this boy has already understood better than all the royal education could provide her. They hear footsteps from behind. Obi-Wan wades into the cockpit.
When is the estimated time of arrival to Alderaan?
It's...
Even before he can say about the time, the ship drops out of light speed. The Nubian transport knifes through starry blackness toward the emerald bright planet of Alderaan and the cluster of separatist fleet ships that encircle it at great distance. Anakin looks out the viewport, almost in tears. He can't believe that there are places where water actually lies on the ground without being instantly evaporated.
If I grew up there, I don't think I'd ever leave.
That's what the outsiders used to say. Now, it's a place you can't even leave.
Suppose it's better to live in a green prison than be isolated in the middle of a desert.
That goes both ways. I'm not seeing the separatists letting in any food convoy. It's still under complete blockade.
The last time we were on Alderaan, there were only enough supplies to last a few days. I wonder what people even eat.
Terrifying imagination crosses her mind. She remembers reading about a cruise ship out of hyperfuel, in which the passengers boiled leather bags and shoes and made them into jelly to eat. When they ate them, they turned their eyes toward the aliens that resembled animals, devouring their arms, legs, and gallbladders. Humans on aliens, and eventually, humans on humans. Obi-Wan points at one of the floating rocks.
Hide us behind that asteroid.
The ship lands on the pitted backside of the large asteroid. The two Jedi tighten their uniforms, wearing loose robes over belted tunics. Padme inspects her blaster and puts it back into the holster strapped to the handmaiden battle uniform, a maroon dress with gold trim stripes that are bright enough to see in the dark. Everyone grows tense as they near Alderaan. From the way Padme carries herself, Anakin can see that she is prepared to fight, and the Jedi would aid her journey home. That's when his dream comes back to him.
I hope we're on time. We have to be on time.
Even if we rescue the Queen, everything depends on who becomes the Chancellor.
Palpatine should keep his promise, or else.
R2-D2 reads a display and beeps. Pilot Rick Oley checks the control.
We are receiving a rescue signal.
A rescue signal?
Rick raises his finger to the point of signal on the map screen, deep in the swamps.
Here, from a forest located in the Lionorm Swamp.
That's the same cave where we made the camp. Captain Panica is still alive.
We have a landing point.
The pilot gains thoughts on this matter.
There is a more pressing problem. How are we supposed to land there before the Separatists blast us into atoms?
I assumed they would loosen their blockade after they controlled the port. I was wrong.
We could have boarded one of their transport ships, but they are not letting in any.
Listening to the exchange, Anakin has an eureka moment.
Does this ship have an escape pod?
Rick Oley leads them to the dark bottom of the ship to show the hatch of a cramped and old escape pod. It is just large enough to hold several humans.
Here, we do have it.
Nubian-manufactured escape pods have a stealth functionality to avoid radar waves.
How do you know?
I've repaired one before.
Rick activates the escape pod. The light is on, ready to drop.
so we can infiltrate the planet without getting detected.
The pod will fool them into thinking it is another meteor entering the atmosphere.
It's settled. We are taking the escape pod and going to the signaling point.
He turns to Rick.
Pilot Oli, set the ship's destination to Coruscant and take the boy to the Jedi Temple.
I want to help.
You already helped us many times. Stay there and wait.
We are coming back for you when it's over.
Anakin freezes, undecided. He finally tells him.
I'm worried.
You will be safe on Coruscant.
Not about me. I had a dream about you.
He stutters. He turns to Qui-Gon.
Not good?
Days earlier, Qui-Gon would have dismissed the remark as mere flattery. But he means every word, somehow, he is sure of it.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Even though it is only a dream, Anakin could tell that Qui-Gon takes it seriously. As if somewhere inside him, he knows what Anakin knows, that his dreams aren't just his imagination. That there is truth in them. And sometimes that truth is frightening. Qui-Gon put his hand on Anakin's shoulder. He feels like a son he has known all his life. Qui-Gon forces himself to smile. It is a sad smile.
Anakin, nothing bad would happen to me. Obi-Wan wouldn't let it.
His kind eyes lock on him as he wedges his body into position.
Now, you stay here.
Anakin starts to say something more about his dream, but he thinks better of it. He takes a breath instead, frustration etches on his face. Maybe he can learn some more if he can figure out the right questions to ask Qui-Gon, but he, Padme, and Obi-Wan get into the escape pod before Anakin can ask him. Anakin can't say he is happy about it, but he does as he is told. The rest jump into the pod, and Rick activates the safety door behind them, sealing them in. The Nubian ship moves slightly away from the asteroid. With the blast of explosive latches, the escape pod ejects from the Nubian ship and flies toward the planet of Alderaan. Footnote. In the film, the Jedi and the Queen return to the Naboo without any hassle, even though the planetary blockade is the central conflict of the story. The film even shows the audience a wide shot of the planet of Naboo, and there is no one blockading the planet, no one firing on the ship trying to get in as they did when they escaped Naboo. And Lucas knew this was a plot hole.
I have one battleship on my scope.
It's a droid control ship.
They probably spotted us.
We haven't much time.
This is called lampshading. It is where you acknowledge a shortcoming in your plot through some dialogue. In this case, it actually made the scene worse because it means the Trade Federation did nothing even though they spotted the Nubian ship entering the Naboo. Why did they not fire on the ship nor dispatch fighters on them? The escape from the Naboo scene at least showed the blockade blasting the Nubian ship trying to leave. Redone gives a more plausible explanation on how they managed to get into Alderaan without getting spotted, which incorporates Anakin's knowledge as an engineer into the plan, creating a little character moment. The night mist is just beginning to thin when the escape pod falls toward the forest. The pod's repulsor lift drive units slow planetary descent. The pod descends and sinks deep into the murky swamps at the edge of the lake near Alderaan. The canopy formed by the limbs of the trees becomes so thick that the sky has almost disappears. The moonlight shines through the forest and the mist. Crumbling stone facades and plinths sinking in the mire. Vines snake their way across the broken remains, dropping down from limbs that twisted and wound together in vast wooden nets. Qui-Gon, Padme, and Obi-Wan get out of the sinking escape pod that crashed in the swamp. They barely swim out to the water's edge, their clothes wet, breathing hard, lying on the ground. Qui-Gon brushes off dirt and squeezes water from his clothes. So this is the swamps, he thinks. It's wet. The patches of open water are even stranger than the grass-covered hillocks and the tall trees all around. Even the air is thick and damp. It feels like breathing soup. Cold soup. A polar opposite of Tatooine.
I never thought I could drown to death before getting blasted by the droids.
They walk out of the edge of the Gungan swamp. The dank smell feels thick in their lungs. Their feet sink slightly in the mud. The overhanging trees drip with shadow.
Your Highness.
They find Panika's group, comprised of 15 troops, 3 handmaidens, and Panika himself, running out of the cave. The only one missing is their queen. They look just as tired as the Jedi. Padme runs to Dorm. They hug each other, gripping tightly.
I knew you would live.
Are you well?
Yes, we're fantastic.
You are now the acting authority of Alderaan, Your Highness.
Qui-Gon inclines his head.
The Senate is voting for a new Supreme Chancellor. Prince Organa is allying support for Senator Palpatine to be elected.
He can then dispatch the judicial fleet to Alderaan.
We can't only rely on their help. By the time they arrive, it will be too late to save the Queen.
Victory is something they have to achieve with their hands. Alderaanians must be the ones to take back what's theirs.
Any idea on how to get into Aldera?
We can enter the city using the secret passages on the waterfall side.
Then what? There are only 24 of us.
The city must be fortified to the teeth.
There is another city.
If she's going to be a warrior, she has to get a running start. She's thought long and hard on this. Her enemies are vastly more powerful. They have more weapons. They have more troops. But
if the humans of Alderaan had cooperated more with the Gungans, the Separatist invasion would not have succeeded so easily. Even now, if we all join our hands, we can have something that they don't have. Surprise.
You can't possibly mean...
Either you adapt or you die.
through the same trail Jar Jar Tarpals had guided them before, they traverse for some time to arrive at the skirts of Lake Pyonga. In the distance, strange noises echo through the swamp.
Our rule is that the Alderaanians and the Gungans should remain separate from each other.
If the rule is not defending the Alderaanian people from the invaders, but defending them, the rule is already dead.
The notion that she must keep the traditions even if it means the destruction of everything those traditions are enacted to protect is absurd. They are already gone and something new is required to replace whatever arbitrary rules they have mutated into.
Do you think the Gungans share your view about their rules?
Being afraid is human. It's also to be overcome.
It's not about us. If the Gungans feel threatened, they will slaughter us.
Leave your guards on the shore. Who should follow us into Oto Gunga?
Dorm, can you swim?
I have been swimming since I was 8, Your Highness.
Qui-Gon's eyes shift away, and notices something among the trees. He stares at something off-screen.
I think we might be too late to discuss that.
The rest of the group turn their heads in the direction Qui-Gon is looking at. The dark shapes surface from the lake in the misty silence. Froggy humanoids materialize out of the mist, riding creatures like giant, wingless birds. Their throwing sticks, atlals, are held at the ready. Qui-Gon turns, and there are even more squads of uniformed aliens surrounding the humans, riding two-legged mounts, kadus, emerging from the haze shrouding the forest of massive trees and tall grasses. The aliens carry long, deadly-looking electropoles, which they use to motion back the distraught intruders. It is also strange and eerie. The Gungans look at them with angry eyes.
Hands up, the invaders.
They do not look overjoyed to see the humans.
Hands up. Use a warning to never come back to Ausastikushi.
Padme straightens, holds out her arms in surrender, and tosses aside her blaster. She motions for the others to do the same.
Throw down your weapons. They win this round.
The Jedi Knights and Royal Guards drop their weapons to the ground and raise their empty hands.
We are from Aldera. Take us as your captives to Oto Gunga.
Humans. You are lost to us at last.
As the Gungans skitter to take the prisoners, the 3 Gungan transports emerge out of the swamp, opening their noses. Padme smiles. Her small trick paid off.
With that, we don't even have to swim.
Carrying the captives, the 3 Gungan submarines start down into the dark waters below and dock at Oto Gunga's port. The Gungan warriors take the Alderaanians into the Bubble City. The place may have been a strange and exotic place to the humans, but to the Gungans it is home. They arrive at a square, where hundreds of the Gungans have gathered. The Gungans cast unfriendly eyes over all of them. The Jedi hold themselves as casually as they always do, even when the Gungans point their electropoles at them. more Gungans enter the main square. One step forward, and looking down at the group, Boss Nass and General Roose Tarpals appear, lumbering out of the shadows with several more of the Gungan Council. Jar Jar walks over to Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Padme.
Hey Adali, Yusa back.
What are yous done back? Haven't Yusa come to rob us more?
Yusa breaken no come back low.
Yous pay good this time.
They see the glint of fury in Tarpal's eyes. To him, Alderaan is just as guilty as the Separatists for the harm that had come to his people. The Gungans converge on the humans. Except Jar Jar, who backs away.
Ouch time. Ouch time for all news.
Captain Panika and the Alderaanian guards stiffen. The Jedi flank the Alderaanians.
It's no use. They're savages. We have to escape right now.
It would not work. Panika could do so many things as the guard captain. He can't do this. All of a sudden, Padme detaches herself from the others and steps before Boss Nass.
Your Honor.
Everyone's head whips around. Why is she coming forward? The head Gungan seems just as puzzled as the humans.
This would a gal again.
Padme would have to pull out the biggest trick as the Queen's body double. She announces in a loud, clear voice.
I am Queen Breha Antilles.
Padme takes off the royal amulet, the one Breha gave to her as a symbol of her gratitude for her cousin's bravery, and shows it to the Gungans. Everyone gasps in shock. Padme gives a knowing wink and smirk at the Jedi and Captain Panika. Captain Panika can barely contain himself, his face tight with confusion. He whispers at her.
What are you planning, Your Highness?
Holding two contradictions at the same time.
Padme glances at Qui-Gon, who smiles, understanding her plan as she turns back to face Nass. She then looks straight at Boss Nass.
And the one with the Separatists is my decoy, my loyal bodyguard.
Boss Nass cocks his head in confusion. The Gungan people begin chattering.
She's right. That's the same amulet.
That does look unlike the Queen.
What the Queen done here?
Somehow Padme had expected that mimicking her cousin again would create a vacuum inside her, and fear would rush in as before, but that didn't happen. She feels satisfied. The two parts of her come together. She can almost hear the resounding click as the two contradictions become a whole.
I am sorry for my deception, but given the circumstances, I am sure you can understand. Although Gungans and humans share a long turbulent past, Your Honor, the Separatists have come and destroyed all that we have worked so hard to build. My people are in camps, and your people will be, too. If we do not act quickly, all will be lost forever. I ask you to help us. No, I beg you to help us.
Boss Nass and General Taples sniff. The Gungans haven't lowered their electropoles. She has not won them over. He stands, legs apart, unmoved. What could she do to convince him? Padme drops to one knee in front of the astonished leader of the Gungans. From the audible gasps of surprise from the Alderaanians and the Gungans alike, this was the last thing they had expected her to do. She knows what they are thinking, an Alderaanian monarch kneeling before a Gungan.
Your Highness!
He tries to stop her, but he notices the Jedi also dropping to their knee behind her. Slowly, Panika and his men also kneel, uncomfortably following the suit.
We misunderstood your people for so long. We only live thanks to the bongo you have given us. We are in your life debt. We are your humble servants. Our fate is in your hands. Please help us.
She had not realized how much the responsibility weighed on her mind until she had let go of a tiny fraction of it to become her cousin. Now she knows. Jar Jar smiles.
We might become friends.
Merely sharing her people's fate no longer seemed enough, but how could she fight the vast armies of droids that the Separatists possessed? The Separatist alliance invaded them. Talking and diplomacy haven't helped. Sometimes they just have to fight back together. She waits for his reply. For a moment, no one says anything. The Gungans stare around in wonderment and shock. The silence presses against their ears. It seems an eternity before they hear a distant booming noise far away, echoing. The Gungans startle. The noise grows louder, echoing and reverberating. The roars of power fill the entirety of Otto Gunga. The Alderaanians look around to find the origin of the sounds.
What is that?
Qui-Gon closes his eyes, retreating himself deep inside the Force. Rolling booms come from not the city, but outside. Moonlight casts the shadows of the Separatist bomber droids.
Commence the bombing on the point of the signal. Eliminate any Gungan settlements you can find.
The bomber droid squadrons drop a barrage of the aerial proton torpedoes from low altitude. When the weapons hit the surface of the Payanga swamp, they propel themselves deeper into the water. Qui-Gon opens his eyes wide. Frantic, in shock and desperation, he screams.
Run!
As soon as he says it, a series of blinding lights flash from above, from the ceiling. The explosions from the torpedoes erupt and tear the balloon shields of Oto Gunga, and the swamp water begin rushing down into the city, drowning out every other sound until the sounds of hundreds screaming. The Gungans and humans alike scream. Gungans on Kata provide a perimeter escort on all sides to flee from the floods washing away the Gungans and structures in their path.
Wisa must evacuate the city.
Careful boyos, or Wisa bean cruncher. Follow on Mesa.
Boss Nass leads people out of the square, avoiding crowds everywhere. Roose Tarples takes his son Jar Jar on his back of the mount. Everyone is yelling. Piercing screams in the raging waves, becoming more difficult to breathe, wreckage falling upon runners. With an ear-piercing sound, a proton torpedo falls through the hole in the bubble and explodes in the middle of the square. Flames eat away the nearby Gungans. Their skins burn up as they collapse. Our heroes trample upon dead and dying Gungans. Roose Tarples Kata gets hit by shrapnel and falls to the ground. Jar Jar gets flung out and pushed away by the immense wave of water.
Jaja.
At the dock, the submarines scramble and depart, carrying the civilians. A lacework of metal that helps the bubbles keep their shapes breaks, and each bubble unlinks and floats up. People are jammed together, smashing into one another. As the Gungan Council and the Alderaanians race to Boss Nass transport, enormous waves of water are flooding into the dock. There is not enough time for evacuation. As Boss Nass and Padme board the submarine, the two Jedi turn back at the entrance of the platform. The wall of water is growing toward them.
Obi-Wan, squeeze all your power.
Yes, Master.
They raise their hands toward the incoming waves. Using the Force, they block the mighty water as if there is an invisible shield. Redirecting the water out of the platform, the flood runs in the side direction to the main dock, pushed out of the platform. The Jedi buy some time for the Alderaanians and the Gungans to board the sub, but they groan and struggle under the extreme pressure.
Now, push and go!
Channeling their remaining power, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan scream to force push the volumes of water, and the flood splashes outward. The two Jedi turn and sprint down the platform toward the sub, which is beginning to launch, but its door is still open. The seawater is flooding to the platform and about to catch up to the Jedi. The submarine is on the move, taking off from the dock. Running down the platform to its end, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan use the Force to launch themselves into a long jump toward the departing submarine. They make it to the ramp, but lose their grips. Qui-Gon grabs Obi-Wan, and Padme and Panika rushes to grab Qui-Gon, but they all begin sliding out due to the wet floor, but Boss Nass and Roose Tarples pull them aboard, using their weight and strength. Padme and Panika have an expression of gratitude. The submarine leaves the dock as the entire city sinks. The bombers fly past, disappearing into the sky. Oto Gunga has turned into a scorching hell that drowned instantly. The Gungan boats emerge ashore. One of the transports opens its nose. Boss Nass jumps down, splashing the swamp water. The Jedi help the Alderaanians get off the bongo safely. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan rush to help the Gungan survivors. Scattered and demoralized, they wander the swamp. Those who couldn't get aboard the transports but are still alive stumble on the bank, coughing and dragging the wounded with them. A dead Gungan floats to Padme and hits her back, prompting her to look toward the swamp. More bodies are flowing down to the shore at a large rate, from dozens to hundreds. Women and children of all ages and descriptions wash in. Some are buried in the sand of the banks. The humans alike look on in disbelief, speechless at the sight of enormous suffering. There is a roiling chaos of screaming in the swamp. The surviving Gungans are crying, praying, screaming, and shouting. All about them, there is a tremendous wailing, a chorus of anguished souls. Among the layers of Gungan corpses, there is General Tarpals wading in, still alive, carrying the body of Jar Jar out of the swamp. Roose Tarpals collapses, uttering a forlorn wail. His son is no longer breathing.
Jaja.
General Tarpals closes his son's eyes. Dorm keeps her ears covered and her eyes closed, shutting it all out, but Padme looks on. Although Padme found Jar Jar annoying at first, seeing him as a lifeless body on the shore gives her so much pain, so much anguish, such a terrible, heavy sense of numbness.
Gungans never die without a fight. Wisa no samo long hide.
Boss Nass approaches Padme, putting a comforting hand on her shoulder as her hooded eyes meet his with a sympathetic, sorrowful expression.
Wisa built Otoganga as a symbol of peace, and long it remained a symbol of peace between all Gungans. But from now on, Tis will be a place of righteous war. No longer will they oppress and terrorize the Gungans.
Wisa warriors. Wisa ready to do our part. We shall retaliate.
General Tarpal screams his war cry, and the other Gungans join him. Then all Gungans let out voices, shaking the whole forest with thunderous yet tormented war cries. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan pull out their lightsabers and point skyward in solidarity. Captain Panika is starting to think that maybe the Gungans and Alderaanians can be allies after all. Once again, he sees Padme, whom they think is Breha, in a new light. Not only is she brave, but she is also a skilled leader. A chill runs through Padme. What does this invasion tell them but that all of the people of Alderaan have to stand shoulder to shoulder and fight as equals? Thus, a great alliance between the Gungans and the Alderaanians is formed. Footnote: the way Naboo manages to ally with the Gungans in the movie is an utter disappointment. The movie depicts the Gungans as isolationists, who refuse to help the Naboo for no other reason than the Gungans' xenophobic nature. When they lost their city to the Trade Federation, they still refused the alliance with the Naboo because
Risa no like the Naboo. The Naboo think they so smarty. They think their brains so big.
The only reason Boss Nass accepted the alliance was because he was entertained by the Queen and her people dropping to their knees and begging. Trying to do a message of two enemies setting aside their prejudice and uniting together by itself is not worthy of praise. How you do it is what matters. In theory, this could be a good scene, but in execution, it's not. The movie fails to depict the Naboo's bigotry toward the Gungans, so when the Gungans say the Naboo are arrogant, we don't feel any of that. When the two sides set their pasts aside to unite for a common cause, the scene lacks all dramatic weight. All we see is that the Gungans are unlikable, unsympathetic idiots we shouldn't care about, and Jar Jar being one of them does not help our perception. Redone depicts the Gungans with a sympathetic outlook by hinting at Alderaan's past, giving actual reasons why the Gungans hate Alderaanians, so the Queen's apology now feels earned. Breha meets a Gungan child, who tells her where their people live. Padme goes through a character arc of someone who is bigoted against the lowly beings, but as she befriends a slave Anakin, she slowly becomes acquainted with the circumstances they are put in, which leads to her allying with the Gungans. The destruction of the Gungan land and the suffering of the Gungan people caught in the chaos by the Separatists give a catalyst for Roose Tarpal's change of heart to help Aldera. This bombing scene reinforces this parallel even further. The dialogues also highlight the Republic's incompetence and its long history of non-human discrimination. At light speed, the Nubian ship races in the direction of Coruscant. Anakin is helpless once again. R2-D2 rests close by, upright and mostly silent, his lights blinking softly. Hyperspace is a silent vacuum, and the only sounds in the ship are the hums of the navigational and life support systems. This spaceship is freezing. And the coldest part of it is the sleeping quarters. No matter how tightly he curls, he doesn't feel warm. This is too different. He sits shivering in a corner of the central chamber, trying to decide what he should do to get warm. Feeling left behind, Anakin stares into the window, showing blinding hyperspace, willing himself to move, to overcome his inertia. Anakin thinks about the dream again, and frame flashes to Qui-Gon dying in the dream for a second. He hopes that it isn't an accurate depiction of things to come, but he somehow knows in his heart that it is. Everything closes down inside. Everything reminds him of Qui-Gon, and when he tries to close his eyes against those dreams, he finds his cold face, suspended in the darkness of his thoughts, anxious and worn. R2-D2 rolls toward him and beeps.
No, it's just...
Yet it still haunts him. Everything is coming apart inside, all the happiness melting away, all the expectancy fading. He has no intention of letting Padme and Qui-Gon go on without him, especially since he can do nothing to help them if he is stuck here on this ship. When he arrives at the Jedi Temple, no Jedi will take care of him except for Qui-Gon. Remembering his vision, Anakin finds the strength he needs to do what he knows he must. Anakin gets up and heads off to the cockpit. Pilot Oli is sleeping in his pilot seat. Anakin looks over the ship's cockpit. His eyes scan the controls desperately, finding for the hyperdrive control, which Rick Oli has taught him. Even though he is eager to go to Alderaan, maybe he shouldn't. The more serious problems they are facing, the Separatist blockade and the threat of the Sith Lord, he doesn't want to be in the way. R2-D2 approaches Anakin and spins his head to emulate a human behavior of shaking their head, warning him not to touch the control. Maybe he is making a mistake, maybe he should stay on Coruscant, except he cannot now. He might not be a Jedi, but that doesn't mean he can't help. Anakin sneaks over, each of his steps careful, and pulls down the control. The ship drops out of hyperspace and halts in the void of real space. Everything becomes quiet. Anakin presses and works on the controls to override the coordinates, changing the destination to Alderaan. The Nubian starship reverses its direction. Moments later, the ship jumps to hyperspace. Lights stretch across the viewports. Everything roars to life at once. Pilot Oli yawns and awakens. Anakin startles, stepping back. In a semi-conscious state, Rick opens his eyes and sees the cockpit viewport to find the ship is still in hyperspace. Thinking the ship is continuing its travel to Coruscant, he closes his eyes again and falls asleep. Anakin lets out a sigh of relief and gets back to the main hold, as R2-D2 worry beeps. Footnote. As this is commonly pointed out about the Phantom Menace, and this criticism is truly warranted, why the hell were they bringing Anakin into Theed in the first place? Why not leave him in the temple on Coruscant? Why bring the most important child vital to the future of the Jedi to the battlefield? He serves no purpose other than to complicate matters. Look at how Anakin just charges toward the battle droids in the open. He could have become a hostage at best, and have been shot at worst. His only job, Qui-Gon told, was to stay in cover.
Once we get inside, you find a safe place to hide and stay there.
Sure.
Stay there.
Something that would be a lot easier to do if they left him in the temple. It is as if Lucas wrote the Coruscant scenes and then realized, wait, Anakin needs to have a role in the third act. What am I going to do? Then he just wrote him in without making a good justification for his inclusion in the third act. The movie rationalized this by saying the Council refused his training, so he had nowhere to go, but was there literally nowhere else to put Anakin other than a literal war zone? Qui-Gon is a Jedi Master. He could have just told to the Council.
Hey, I understand you rejected the boy, but where we're going now is too dangerous for him. Look after the boy for a while, okay? I'll pick him up once we're done.
Even if the Jedi Council was so garbage that they would never allow him to stay in the temple, did they not have daycares, homeless shelters, or orphan homes on Coruscant they could put him in? They clearly had a Naboo embassy of sorts when they arrived at Coruscant, so just ask the Queen to have her handmaidens and guards look after Anakin. It is not like the Sith were chasing after Anakin because they did not even know about Anakin at that time. Another excuse the dialogue attempts to justify is that Qui-Gon wanted Anakin to watch him and learn.
I'm not allowed to train you, so I want you to watch me and be mindful. Stay close to me, and you'll be safe.
Who is a 9-year-old, who is unarmed, has zero combat or force training, in the middle of a war zone in which 100% aware they are hopelessly outgunned.
There are too few of us, Your Highness. We have no army.
And I can only protect you. I can't fight a war for you.
Then Qui-Gon tells Anakin to stay in the open cockpit of a fighter alone because it is safe.
Hey, wait for me!
Anakin, stay where you are. You'll be safe there.
But I...
Stay close to me, and you'll be safe. Stay in that cockpit.
Okay, so does Qui-Gon want him to follow him through the battle to learn or not? No one else is there to watch over a 9-year-old kid. Qui-Gon told him to sit alone in a giant gasoline-filled starfighter that was made of metal and electrical parts, and the fighter was obviously ready to take off, as Qui-Gon saw all the other starfighters in the hangar doing the same. Not to mention that there were blaster fire and killer droids everywhere. The battle droids could have rushed into the hangar at any moment. It is so irresponsible and dangerous. Qui-Gon should be arrested for child abuse, even by the standard of the Star Wars universe. Qui-Gon was rebellious, but not quick to endanger the life of an innocent, as shown when he saved Jar Jar twice, from the approaching tank and the danger of being executed in the Gungan city.
What is to become of Jar Jar Binks here?
He seemed to be punished.
I saved his life. He owes me what you call a life debt. Your gods demand that his life belongs to me now.
Qui-Gon was protective of Anakin, as we saw in the way that he was the only one who stuck up for him. He would want him to be safe, but safety is something you cannot guarantee in the middle of a firefight, even if you are a Jedi. You can say that Padawans go on missions with their masters all the time, but at that stage, Anakin was not a Jedi, much less a Padawan. He was not even a youngling, and they do not leave the temple at all. Then there is the fact that Anakin followed the group from the jungle to the city, to the streets, and to the hangar, and no one even questioned, "Hey, what is this kid doing here?" Watch the movie and see how nobody but Qui-Gon even acknowledged Anakin all this time. Padme questioned Qui-Gon several times before, but dragging little Anakin along, whom she likes, is apparently no concern of hers. Obi-Wan clashes with Qui-Gon, but doesn't offer any objection over this. This is embarrassingly terrible writing and makes no sense in any way you look at this. Redone fixes this problem by Qui-Gon ordering Pilot Oli to take Anakin to Coruscant, and then Anakin sneaks to the cockpit to change the coordinates to Alderaan without the pilot knowing. Not only does this fix the plot hole, but it also adds to Anakin's characterization that he acts out of emotions and is willing to break rules and orders, a foreshadowing for the later episodes.